Chapter 1432. Almost the same conversation happened in the Spiritual Martial Arts College. Therefore, the lower three districts of the Tianguang ruins were suddenly filled with people at 9 p.m. Especially the street where the old master is number one in the world shop it was even more crowded. If this was not the virtual Tianguang ruins, these people would have been trampled to death by each other. From this moment onwards, Yi Liangchen's points on the talisman list started to increase crazily. At the beginning, he was more than 10 million points away from Lu Ruoxuan. On the last day, the difference between the two was reduced to a mere 3 million points. This time, Lu Ruoxuan panicked. She quickly sent people to find out more information. When she found out that Yi Liangchen actually announced his identity, she gritted her teeth in anger. But soon, she revealed a sinister smile and walked towards the old master is number one in the world shop with her people. From afar, after turning the corner, the shining words, "Old master is number one in the world," appeared in front of them. A few months ago, this shop's signboard was so dim that it could not be seen at all. Now, even if they were a few streets away, they could still see the dazzling light from the signboard. It was obvious how popular the shop was. Zhu Xiang and Zhu Yu were a pair of twin sisters who studied in the Fengtian College. This time, they specially came to the Tianguang ruins to take a look at the legendary Yi Liangchen and see who he was. At the same time, they bought a low-level talisman drawn by Yi Liangchen and humiliated him. However, when they arrived at the old master is number one in the world shop, they realized that the scene here was completely different from what they imagined. They thought that Yi Liangchen's shop would definitely be in a mess. The people from the Starry School, Fengtian College, and Spiritual Martial Arts College would definitely be in a heated argument. Just like how whenever the three colleges met in the past, sparks would fly everywhere and even escalate into a fight. At the moment, the scene in front of the old master is number one in the world shop was lively and extremely heated. However, the content of the argument was completely different from what Zhu Xiang and Zhu Yu had imagined. Me, it's my turn to buy a talisman. I want a mutated 4th grade talisman, any type is fine. Move, I've been queuing here for the whole night. It's my turn to buy it no matter what. God Yi, we're from the Starry School. We're your loyal supporters. Please sell us the mutated 4th grade talisman first. Why should those from the Fengtian Academy and Spiritual Martial Academy care about them? Yes, the mutated 4th level talisman should be sold to the Starry School's own people first. Hey, Starry School, don't go overboard. You guys always shout slogans that the 3 academies are like a family, and now you're treating us like this. Great God Yi, I'm from the Phoenix Sky Academy, but as long as you sell me the mutated Fire Grade 4 talisman, I'll be your loyal supporter from now on. Me too. Zhu Xiang and Zhu Yu were dumbfounded. What kind of strange scene was this? Didn't the people from the Phoenix Sky Academy come to Tianguang ruins to mock Yi Liangchen? However, they all saw quite a few of their senior brothers and sisters in the enthusiastic crowd. Do these people still remember how they were so agitated and solemn before coming to Tianguang ruins? Chapter 1433. Senior brother Zhang was stunned for a moment. Yeah, I haven't seen God Yi yet. But never mind, these are not important. What's important is that these level 4 talismans are really effective and they are so cheap. Anyone who doesn't buy them is an idiot. As he spoke, senior brother Zhang hesitated for a moment and passed a talisman to Zhu Xiang and Zhu Yu. I didn't get the mutated talisman, but these normal level 4 talismans have already surpassed the effect of a level 5 talisman. Most importantly, they only cost 10 mid-grade crystals, 10. Zhu Xiang and Zhu Yu took the talismans dumbfoundedly. Meanwhile, senior brother Zhang had already rushed forward and wanted to squeeze into the shop again to get the mutated talisman that was just displayed. Zhu Xiang and Zhu Yu looked at each other and were a little confused. Was Yi Liangchen really so powerful? Not only was his combat ability so powerful, but he was also so good at talisman drawing. At this moment, there was a commotion in the crowd behind them. A few people were pushed to the ground and cried out in pain. Then, Lu Ruoxuan, who was dressed provocatively, walked forward with a group of muscular male cultivators. Yi Liangchen, come out. Lu Ruoxuan shouted at the top of her voice, you are not the leader of Starry School at all. Now you are pretending to be God Yi and scamming people here. How shameless are you? What do you mean? Jing Jiabao and Jiang Xinyu, who were originally maintaining order in front, heard this and immediately jumped over. What do you mean pretending to be God Yi? Make yourself clear. Seeing that it was someone she knew, Lu Ruoxuan immediately put on a pitiful expression. But now that she was wearing heavy makeup, this expression seemed a little strange. Brother Zheng, we all know that the leader of Starry School, Yi Liangchen, is a man. However, the leader of Starry School, Yi Liangchen, is obviously a woman. How can it be God Yi of Starry School? As soon as this was said, many people at the scene were shocked. Yi Liangchen is fake. It can't be. Why not? I heard that the leader of this shop, Yi Liangchen, is indeed a girl. Are you kidding me? Although the talismans here are very useful, we are here for God Yi. If this isn't Guru Ye's store, why are we here? Not to mention those loyal to Yi Liangchen in the Starry School. Even though the Phoenix Sky Academy and the Spiritual and Martial Arts Academy were saying that they wanted to humiliate Yi Liangchen, they were actually admiring this legendary monster who was far superior to Lu Jinhang. If the old man is number one in the world, shop only sold talismans made by an ordinary talisman master, they would buy it because it was cost-effective, but they would never support it crazily. Listening to the discussions around her, Lu Ruoxuan revealed a smile of success. The muscular man beside her immediately shouted, Yi Liangchen, you imposter. Do you want to be a coward and not dare to come out? Yap Liangchen, come out if you can. Before he could finish his words, the few of them, including Lu Ruoxuan, suddenly felt pain on their faces. Then, he was sent flying and fell heavily to the ground. When they raised their heads again, everyone noticed that there was a clear palm print on each of their faces. Chapter 1434. Especially Lu Ruoxuan, her face is covered with blood, looking battered and exhausted. Even her makeup has been washed away by the blood. Her whole person is no longer seductive, but as ugly as a ghost. The injuries in Tianguang ruins can be automatically healed in the blink of an eye. The injuries on these people's faces are quickly healed, but each and every one of them looks at the shop entrance in horror and anger. Only to see that there is an unprepossessing girl there at some point. The old customers of the old man is number one under the heavens, immediately cheer, Boss Yi. Boss Yi is mighty. But the people of the three academies have a bit of suspicion on their faces. Jing Jiabao steps forward, squints his mung bean eyes and asks, are you really our Lord of Clear Sky, Yi Liangchen? Mu Yan looks at him with a smile that is not a smile. What do you think? Jing Jiabao snorts, don't try to deceive me, I have seen great God Yi, your appearance is completely different from our boss Yi. The corner of Mu Yan's mouth slowly hooks up, oh. Is that so? Then I don't know if your unmentionable illness is different from before. Jing Jiabao suddenly widens his eyes, takes a few steps back, you, what did you say? Mu Yan raises her eyebrows, your unmentionable illness, little fatty Jing, do you want me to say your unmentionable illness in front of so many people? No. Jing Jiabao shakes his head like a rattle drum, his face full of fear, Boss Yi, please don't say it. But very quickly, his expression changes to excitement, you are really Boss Yi. But Boss Yi, how did you become a woman? Chen Ping in the crowd suddenly steps forward. In fact, none of us have seen Boss Ye's true appearance. I have seen Boss Ye several times outside the Tower of Delicacy, and his appearance is different every time. Moreover, as he says that, he and Wu Gue look at each other, and both take out a talisman. That day, great God Ye gave me and Wu Gue 2 talismans. At that time, I felt that the mark on the talisman was very familiar, but now I know that it is clearly the same as the talisman mark of the old man is number 1 under the heavens, shop. A little girl also raises her hand in the crowd, holding a talisman in her hand, and weakly says, I have also received great God Ye's talisman. I believe that the 2 Ye gods are the same person. Jiang Xinyu said loudly, moreover, don't forget that you can change your appearance and gender in the Tianguang ruins. Even if Goddess Yi is a man in reality, it doesn't stop her from being a woman in Tianguang ruins. The testimonies of the few of them made the loyal supporters of Yi Liangchen from the Starry School excited again. Ow ow ow, God Yi, I actually saw God Yi in real life. Please protect me, great God Yi. I'll be your most loyal little brother from now on. Don't worry, great God Yi. We'll definitely make sure you're number 1. Lu Ruoxuan's face twisted when she saw this. She didn't understand. What kind of magic does Yap Liangchen have? His identity was unknown, and he was a man and a woman. He had deceived everyone. However, she still made these people break their promise to her. What about her? In order to gain the support of these die-hard loyalists, one had to sell their bodies, sell their souls, and use drugs to control them. However, he still couldn't defeat Yap Liangchen. Why? Why was heaven so unfair? Chapter 1435. Jiang Xinyu looked at her in disgust. If I don't believe great God Yi, would I believe a slut like you? Who do you think you are? A lowly slut who crawled out of our mountain-breaking sect, hooking up with and using men everywhere. Now, you're even more debauched and shameless. A slut like you has the nerve to be compared to our great God Yi. Lu Ruoxuan glared at Jiang Xinyu, intense killing intent and twisted hatred burst out from her eyes. However, she quickly shifted her gaze and looked at Mayan, sneering, Yi Liangchen, it's very simple if you want to prove your identity. Can't you just ask Tianguang Su to verify your identity? Once Tianguang Su verified his identity, his true identity would be exposed. Lu Ruoxuan was certain that Yi Liangchen wouldn't dare to do so, so she made such a request. As expected, the people from Fengtian Academy and Lingguo Academy became excited. Their main purpose in coming to Tianguang Su was to find out Yi Liangchen's true identity. Now that Lu Ruoxuan provided them with such an opportunity, how could they not seize it? That's right, why are you the master of Azure Sky Academy? If you want to prove your identity, then let Tianguang Su verify your identity. Lu Ruoxuan stared at Mayan sinisterly. Yi Liangchen, let me reveal your true identity. Even if she lost this competition, as long as she knew Yi Liangchen's true identity, she would still be able to kill him in reality. Mayan listened to the commotion of the people below with an indifferent expression. Of course, she wouldn't reveal her true identity. But she had ways to prove herself. With a flick of her wrist, 3 tokens appeared in her hand. The 3 tokens were red, yellow, and blue respectively. One side of the token was carved with a strange giant beast, namely Mortal Sky, Mortal Star, and Mortal Spirit. The other side was carved with 4 words, namely Lord of Nirvana, Lord of Linglong, and Lord of Soaring Sky. When the 3 tokens appeared, the scene fell into a brief silence. Then, the crowd burst into an uproar. It's the Nirvana token, I've seen it in Senior Brother Lu's hands before. Ha ha ha, you guys actually dare to doubt our great God Yi. Apart from great God Yi, who else could gather 3 Azure Sky tokens? At this moment, there was no doubt about Yi Liangchen's identity. However, there were also people who were unwilling to give up. Yi Liangchen, if there's nothing shady about your identity, why didn't you let Tianguang Su verify it? Yes, these 3 tokens look real, but maybe they are forged by you. Go to hell. Why don't you forge 3 clear sky badges for us to see? The people in front of the shop were arguing endlessly. Time passed by slowly. On the talisman rankings, the gap between Yi Liangchen and Bing Ruowu didn't shrink. Instead, it grew bigger and bigger. There were only 6 hours left before the end of the glorious heavenly light classification competition. Lu Ruoxuan lowered her eyes and revealed a smile of success. However, at this moment, suddenly, a white light falls from the sky and falls on Mayan. Then, above Mu Yan's originally empty head, several large, glittering golden words appeared. The Lord of Azure Sky, Yap Liangchen. Almost at the same time, everyone in the Tianguang ruins heard a dull mechanical voice. Tianguang Ruins Unique Special Class Certification issued. The leader of the Green Cloud sect, Yi Liangchen. Yi Liangchen's identity has been verified. Titles will update in real time. Chapter 1436. There was a dead silence in front of the "Dad is the best in the world" shop. Even Mu Yan is dumbfounded. What the hell? She didn't ask Tianguang Su to authenticate her identity. Moreover, didn't they say that Tianguang Su's identity authentication would definitely reveal the real information of the authenticator? But why did she only announce the name Yi Liangchen? You are the first host, it is natural to give you this privilege. A stiff and immature voice suddenly rings in her ears. Mu Yan is startled. She looks around, but finds that no one else has any reaction. Only she can hear this voice. First host. Are you talking about me? Mu Yan asks in her heart. She doesn't expect anyone to respond, but who knows that the stiff and immature voice immediately says, "Yes, I am Xiao Tian. I finally meet the first host again." Mu Yan. Xiao Tian, did you get the wrong person? And what the hell is the first host? However, the stiff and immature voice just calmly says, "The first host hasn't woken up yet, Xiao Tian is just greeting you. I wish the first host a happy time here, and level up soon. Xiao Tian, Xiao Guang, and Xiao Su miss you very much." Wait a minute. What Xiao Tian, Xiao Guang, and Xiao Su? What first host? Can't you explain it clearly? However, there is no more voice in her mind. And the crowd in front of the shop, because of the short silence, has completely boiled over. This time, no matter how Lu Ruoxuan and those people with ulterior motives instigate, no one will believe or listen anymore. Everyone desperately rushes to the shop, frantically buying talismans. Even Tianguang Su has authenticated the identity, what else is there to doubt? Lu Ruoxuan grits her teeth and rushes to the reincarnation square, watching Yi Liangchen's points rise all the way. The gap between them has increased from more than 3 million points to more than 1 million points, and then hundreds of thousands of points. Now, there are only a few tens of thousands of points. With this little bit of points, it may not even take half an hour for him to catch up. No, I can't lose to that bitch Yi Liangchen. Lu Ruoxuan screams, "Announce to me that the price of the immortal talismans will be increased. One immortal talisman will be sold for 2,000 high-grade crystals." The male cultivator standing next to Lu Ruoxuan is shocked. 2,000 high-grade crystals. How was this possible? Many people have already gone bankrupt in order to buy the immortal talismans. If the price is raised again, I'm afraid they will only have a dead end. I don't care whether they live or die. Lu Ruoxuan smiled cruelly. In any case, they have used the immortal talisman. Even if they die, they will continue to use it. Since you're going to die, you might as well contribute all your crystal stones to me. I will never lose to Yap Liangqin. The price of the immortal talisman suddenly rose. This caused the gap between Lu Ruoxuan and Mu Yan to widen a little. Because of the crazy increase in their points, their names actually entered the top 20. On the other hand, the unusual movements of the talisman list finally attracted the attention of the fans of the other lists. Number 20, Bing Ro Wu, Talisman. Number 21, Yi Liangqin, Talisman. What was up with this year's glorious heavenly light? There are actually 2 people on the list of talisman puppets that are close to the top 20. The top 20 of the overall ranking would be able to participate in the finals of the Flourishing Heavenly Light. Chapter 1437. Not to mention the top 20, even the top 100 of the talisman ranking had never been seen before. Are the people on the talisman ranking of the Flourishing Heavenly Light crazy? They actually bought their way into the top 20. But those are only 4 or 5 low-level talismans. What's the use of buying so many? Are these people's brains broken? No matter what they do, the first place this year will definitely be the Yaodai Fairy of our pill ranking. I think that the young Master Yin of the refining ranking also has the power to compete. As for those 2 on the talisman ranking, so what if they enter the top 20 of the overall ranking? This is already their limit. In the last 2 hours, the battle for the last 2 places in the top 20 of the Flourishing Heavenly Light ranking was white-hot. Yi Liangqin's points were closing in on Lu Ruoxuan several times. But Lu Ruoxuan forcibly pulled him away by sucking the blood of the users of the immortal talismans. Even though he had entered the top 20 and could participate in the final selection. But the people in the old man's number 1 under the world shop were still very anxious. If she lost to Lu Ruoxuan, then Mayan would have to kowtow when she saw Lu Ruoxuan in the future. Only Chu Moli was calm and unperturbed, his face full of a smile of wisdom. Third senior brother, there's only 1 hour left. What other trump card do you have? Quickly use it. Chu Moli slowly picked up a pastry and put it in his mouth, then said with a smile, Little Seven, don't always be so impatient. Look at little junior sister, she's not in a hurry. Mayan took a sip of water and chuckled in her heart, that's because I know that third senior brother is abnormal enough. Lu Ruoxuan's methods are really far from being comparable to you. Ling Yuma anxiously paced around, oh, third senior brother, don't keep us guessing, time is pressing. 1 hour is just right. Chu Moli glanced at the sky and smiled slightly. Almost at the same time, a mechanical and stiff electronic voice resounded in the Tianguang ruins. Announcement, announcement, the whole district announcement. Tianguang Ruins special certified user, Yi Liangqin, has issued a district announcement. Whoever purchases the talismans of the old man's number 1 under the world shop in the next 1 hour, and reaches the top 3 in spending, will have a chance to drink wine and admire flowers with young Master Yun Shao in the Tianguang ruins. I'm just passing by. I can't miss it. If you miss this opportunity, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Tianguang Ruin Special Class user Yi Liangqin is fully authenticated. You definitely won't suffer any losses or be fooled by your purchase. Pooh! Mu Yan spits out a mouthful of water. If she could, she wished she could shatter a boulder on her chest and let her blood splatter everywhere. Third senior brother, you. Are you kidding me? Mayan's hands tremble as she points at the smiling man in front of her. She really wants to rush over and strangle him. When did I agree to make this announcement? Chu Moli tilted his head, and said with an extremely gentle smile, didn't Junior Marshal Sister give me full authority to handle the matter of climbing the rankings this time? I have Junior Sister's letter of authorization in my hand, and I'm one of the owners of the old man is the #1 under the heavens shop, so I naturally have the right to make the announcement on behalf of junior sister. Mu Yan almost spits out a mouthful of old blood. Chapter 1438. Thinking of this, Mu Yan couldn't help but shiver. Because she also thought that it was fine if little Marshall uncle knew. If Di Mingju comes back, he'll let her know that he didn't use his name to swindle her, but used Xiaoshishu's. Di Mingju must be itching to swallow her whole. I'm dead. I'm really going to die because of third senior brother. Mu Yan wants to quickly call little Tian to cancel this announcement. However, the crowd outside the shop had gone crazy. The street that had calmed down because everyone had bought enough talismans, once again became crowded with people, rubbing shoulders with one another. Mayan is standing in the extremely soundproof inner berth, and she can hear the hoarse shouts of the people outside. The opportunity to drink and admire the flowers with young Master Yun Shao is mine, no one is allowed to snatch it from me. For young Master Yun Shao, I am willing to go bankrupt. Aren't they just talismans? Bye. Isn't it just crystals? Give it to you, give it to you. You must let me see young Master Yun Shao. Chu Moli opened the message, and saw the message sent by Elegant Brother from the Reincarnation Square. He chuckled and said, "Oh. How could he be on par with Lu Ruoxuan so quickly? It felt like he hadn't even started to exert his strength yet. Isn't it too easy to win?" Mayan wipes her face with her hand and sits back in her chair. His face was calm as if he had nothing left to live for. What's so great about it? Isn't it just letting little Marshall uncle hold a fan meeting? Wasn't it just someone's jealousy that would drown the entire Alcade branch? It was nothing, motherfucker, flips table. It would be a miracle if he wasn't amazing. She really wanted to kill third senior brother, this bastard. Ding dong, time's up. I hereby announce that the Tianguang Ruins Quadrennial Grand Event, the Flourishing Tianguang, has come to an end. First, we'll announce the top 3 of the categorized rankings. Next, it's the list of the top 20 in the glorious Heavenly Lights finals. First place, top of the elixir list, Leng Yuyao. Second place, top of the crafting list, Yin Zhe. 18th place, 6th place, Qin Guangji. 19th, the top of the talisman list, Yi Liangqin. Rank 20, rank 2 on the talisman list, Dancing Like Ice. The finals of Flourishing Tianguang will be held in 3 days. The rules and competition rules of the finals will be announced at the Reincarnation Square. Please check it yourself. Finally, Tianguang Ruins wishes everyone a good result in the finals. Yi Liangqin's supporters went crazy when the final ranking list of Golden Tianguang was announced. Especially Elegant Brother and the other die-hard fans of Lousy #1 in the world. All of them arrogantly ran to the front of Cloud Lake to show off their prowess. Looking at Wang Jinbin dejectedly kneeling in front of him and calling him Grandpa, Elegant Bro only felt indescribably comfortable. Grandpa hates people from the Wang family the most. I'll record this scene with a photographic talisman. He would definitely be overjoyed if he showed it to his grandfather. Easy Bro pointed at Wang Jinbin and laughed. My good grandson, our wager is even, but your Bing Rua Misty dance still hasn't kowtowed to our boss Yi. Oh, no, I mean, every time you see our boss, you have to kowtow, Bang! The item in Yun Lake's hand was suddenly kicked away. Chapter 1439. You guys go back and tell Yi Liangqin that our competition is not over yet. I will definitely be the winner of the Heavenly Light of Golden Age. Easy Bro clicked his tongue, how shameless. You actually don't want to admit it after losing. Lu Ruoxuan suddenly approached Easy Bro, a sinister chill gushed out from her body and instantly wrapped around him. Easy Bro only felt that his throat seemed to be choked by something. For a moment, he was drenched in cold sweat and couldn't breathe. And Lu Ruoxuan's eyes were getting closer and closer to him. In those sinister eyes, there seemed to be a huge whirlpool that was sucking his soul bit by bit. However, at this moment, a talisman suddenly burned on Easy Bro's chest. The flames suddenly sprang up and went straight to Lu Ruoxuan's face. Lu Ruoxuan screamed and had to let go of Easy Bro. She took a few steps back. She looked at the burning talisman in shock and repeated Yi Liangqin a few times. Her face suddenly revealed a coquettish smile filled with ambition and desire. However, this smile was completely different from the Lu Ruoxuan of the past. It didn't make people feel charming at all. Instead, it made them feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. Easy Bro touched his chest and looked at Lu Ruoxuan's back with lingering fear. At that moment, he almost thought that he was going to die. But in Tianguang ruins, practitioners shouldn't be able to hurt each other. Why was this dancing ice like thunder so strange? Brother Gua, how are you? Bei Kuei Xiang Wan rushed over to support him. What happened just now? Why did Sister Ye's talisman suddenly burn? Easy Bro shook his head and then said with a dignified expression, I think it should be Boss Ye's talisman that saved my life just now. Taking out another talisman from his chest, Easy Bro murmured, this is the mutated rank for soul-fixing talisman that Boss Yi gave us. Xiao Kuei, I think this talisman is very precious. It might be able to save your life at a critical moment. Bei Kuei Xiang Wan smiled, Sister Ye's talisman is of course the most powerful. Easy Bro carefully hid the talisman again and then said excitedly, no, I have to bring these talismans back for Grandpa to see. 3 days later, I will encourage Grandpa to support Boss Yi. I feel that as long as we follow Boss Yi, we definitely won't suffer. Bei Kuei Xiang Wan nodded happily. I will go and mobilize all of Sister Ye's supporters and have them support Sister Yi in an orderly manner. She didn't forget that Big Sister Ye's goal wasn't to be first in the category rankings, but first in the overall rankings. First place in the overall ranking. What a distant and frightening goal was that. Before today, there wasn't even a single participant in the talisman category that entered the top 10. Sister Ye's current points are not even half of the first place Leng Yuyao's. This should have been a delusion like a fairy tale. But for some reason, such words came out of Sister Ye's mouth. North Sunflower Xiang Wan believed that it was possible. There were no miracles that Sister Yi and Yap Liangqin couldn't create. All the die-hard supporters of Yap Liangqin believed so. At this moment, Elegant Broke suddenly coughed and turned his head to the other side in embarrassment. He mumbled, well, little Kuei, my grandpa said he wants to see you. Why don't you come back with me this time? Chapter 1440. She looked into Elegant Bro's eyes, which were looking straight at her, and immediately a blush appeared on her cheeks. Lu Ruoxuan left the Tianguang ruins and returned to the modern world. The charming expression on her face suddenly turned into panic and panic. She pressed her chest and screamed, Mei Axian, what did you do to me? Why can't I control my body in the Tianguang ruins? A wisp of black smoke floated out of Lu Ruoxuan's chest and slowly condensed into an enchanting beauty. Last time, Mei Axian's body was illusory, as if it could be blown away by the wind at any time. But this time, it was extremely solid. Even her hands and feet were warm, and she could touch things directly. Mei Axian chuckled, don't panic. I'm just attaching myself to your divine soul and controlling your consciousness. Not only will it not harm you, but it will also make your joyous union demonic skill improve rapidly. Lu Ruoxuan was shocked, Mei Axian, you'd better not lie to me. Otherwise, I'd rather die with you. Mei Axian waved her hand disdainfully, where's the cultivation furnace I want today? Why isn't it here yet? Lu Ruoxuan gritted her teeth. Didn't you say that as long as I find you enough cultivation furnaces, you will help me defeat Yelyongchen? What happened? Now she is the top of the talisman list, not me. Humph, that's because you are useless. Mei Axayan frowned impatiently. Seeing that Lu Ruoxuan was about to lose her temper, she said perfunctorily, "Don't worry. There is still the final, right? Just wait and see. I will definitely help you succeed in the final." Ha ha ha. Lu Ruoxuan paced anxiously in the room. How to help me succeed? Your immortal talisman is still useless, isn't it? Mei Xian's eyes darkened, and she said faintly, "Just make her unable to compete anymore. Won't you win?" Lu Ruoxuan was shocked and was about to ask how to make Yelyongchen unable to compete anymore. A greasy voice came from outside the door. "Beauty, I'm here." The door was pushed open with a creak, and an ugly man with a face full of oil strode in. He was as thin as a bamboo pole. Mei Axayan was shocked and returned to Lu Ruoxuan's body the moment the door was opened. When the man saw Lu Ruoxuan in revealing clothes, he immediately pounced on her with a lewd smile. Lu Ruoxuan screamed, but her clothes had already been torn. Her face was full of disgust and she screamed loudly, "Go away, I want another one. You disgusting ugly freak, get lost." Even if she was looking for a human furnace, she would definitely look for a man who was pleasing to the eye. But this man was even uglier than Jiang Hofei, even more disgusting. How could she accept this? However, just when Lu Ruoxuan was about to resist, she suddenly felt a surge of energy in her body. It directly restrained her movements. Because of her words, the man flew into a rage out of humiliation and gave her a few tight slaps. "Bitch, you still want to escape after falling into my hands? Dream on. If I don't play you to death today, I'll change my surname to yours." Lu Ruoxuan screamed under the man's torture. She struggled with all her might, but she was completely immobilized by her bewitching ability. Mei Xian's cold and sinister voice rang in her ears with a hint of laughter. "Lu Ruoxuan, you're already a broken flower, why are you still pretending to be a chaste woman?" Chapter 1441. Lu Ruoxuan looks at the distorted face of the man on top of her, feeling the pain in her body and the mockery of Mei Xian. Her face is fiercely distorted, turning into a bone-piercing hatred. Yelyongchen, Jun Mayan, Mei Xian, Jiang Xinyu. It's these people who forced her step by step into this state. She, Lu Ruoxuan, won't sink like this. One day, she must let these people die a horrible death. Yaoguang Branch. The 7 people of the Xiaoyao sect all lowered their heads, standing in front of Luo Yunxiao, not daring to breathe. In front of Luo Yunxiao, there's still a table, a chair, a zither, and a pot of wine. Slender fingers, slender joints, and jade-like. When she picks up the wine cup, it complements the jade-colored wine cup, and slowly brings it to her pale lips. Her sexy Adam's apple moves slightly, and the wine enters her stomach. An elegant gentleman, gentle as jade, unparalleled. This scene is as beautiful as the most meaningful ancient painting. Even if you look at it for a lifetime, it won't be enough. But the 7 people of the Xiaoyao sect don't have the mood to appreciate it at all. Big drops of sweat roll down from their foreheads, but no one dares to wipe it. Luo Yunxiao puts down the wine cup, glances at the people present, and says softly, "Do you like to drink and admire the flowers?" The 7 people shake their heads, their faces full of horror. Just now, the 7 of them were trapped in the peach blossom wine pool sword array. While soaking in the strong wine, they experienced the slashes of the peach blossom sword energy. 24 hours, a whole 24 hours. Their skin is wrinkled. Their whole body is almost like a moving wine pit. Qi Wen, who found her conscience, let them out and gave them a way out. Now, when the 7 people think of drinking and admiring the flowers, they feel that it's better to die than to live. Whoa, in this life, they don't want to drink and admire the flowers anymore. Lang Yuma carefully raises her head, sneaks a glance at Luo Yunxiao, and whispers, Little uncle, the appointment at Tianguang Ruins, you will go, right? Ahem. Luo Yu immediately answers, well, if you don't go, 6th sister will die. You dote on 6th senior sister the most. You wouldn't watch her die, right? Chu Moli wiped the sweat off his face and revealed a warm smile. Little martial uncle, this time, little junior sister is participating in the flourishing heavenly light competition. Shouldn't you also support her? Because junior sister taught you how to play the zither. Luo Yunxiao stretched out her hand and slowly plucked the strings of the zither. Creak. The ear-piercing sound made the 7 people of the Xiaoyao school shiver. Even Chu Moli shrunk his neck. Luo Yunxiao said slowly, tell me, who is the instigator? The 7 of them lowered their heads even more. Mu Yan clenched her teeth, took a step forward and said, Junior martial uncle, this was all my idea. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Senior martial brother and the others were also trying to help me. Little martial uncle, I'm willing to accept any punishment. After saying that, she couldn't help but reveal an ingratiating smile. But, I've also made an announcement. If little martial uncle doesn't go to the fan meet and greet. Ah Pui, if you don't go to drink and admire the flowers, I'll definitely be eaten alive by your supporters. I beg little martial uncle to save me. Luo Yunxiao slowly raised her eyebrows, and her indifferent gaze fell on her face. There seemed to be a flash in the depths of her eyes, but it quickly disappeared. Just as she was about to speak, a sharp voice suddenly came from the side. Chapter 1442. Then she will come tonight to serve master, bathe and warm the bed, wahahaha. Master, what do you think? Slap. Luo Yunxiao slapped Qi Wen's head, making him look like a pancake. Qi Wen lay on the ground and couldn't get up. She cried out pitifully, Master, you don't like kisses anymore. Luo Yunxiao doesn't even look at Qi Wen. She stands up and says, come to my room tonight. After that, she turns around and leaves without waiting for anyone's response. The 7 people of the Xiaoyao sect look at each other. So, junior martial uncle agreed. He didn't refuse, so he agreed. Wahaha, long live junior martial uncle. I said that junior martial uncle loves 6th senior sister the most. Even Mu Yan breathes a sigh of relief and wipes the sweat from her forehead. She finally passed this test. Only Chu Moli shows a meaningful smile. I wonder why junior martial uncle wants little junior sister to go to his room tonight. Ha ha ha, don't tell me he really wants little junior sister to warm the bed. Ling Yuma puts her hands on her hips and laughs, little junior sister, you're really lucky. No, if 6th senior sister really warms junior martial uncle's bed and junior martial uncle's supporters find out, 6th senior sister is dead meat. Everyone laughed and joked about this topic. No one really takes Qi Wen's words to heart. Even Mu Yan is the same. She has always respected junior martial uncle as her master. She has never thought that junior martial uncle has feelings for her. Only Chu Moli slightly lowers his eyes and shows a meaningful smile. At night, Mu Yan arrives at Luo Yunxiao's room on time. She didn't expect Luo Yunxiao to throw her a storage ring. This is the latest sword technique and sword array disc, as well as the cultivation methods suitable for the other people of the Xiaoyao sect. Mu Yan widens her eyes in surprise. Junior martial uncle, are you leaving again? Luo Yunxiao nods. Mu Yan quickly asks, where are you going? You won't be injured when you come back, right? Luo Yunxiao originally doesn't want to answer, but when she sees Mu Yan's concerned gaze, she finally says, "There won't be any danger." In the end, he still said, "There won't be any danger. I just want to find something in the cultivation continent, a person." Mayan breathes a sigh of relief. "So, Junior Martial Uncle, you have been looking for things and people. No wonder you are often not in the sect. Did you find the things and people you were looking for?" Luo Yunxiao's gaze fell on her unblinkingly, then slowly turned away. "Not yet." Mu Yan smiles faintly. "Don't worry, Junior Martial Uncle, you're working so hard to find it, you'll definitely find it one day." As she spoke, she took out a large stack of talismans and a few bottles of pills and stuffed them into Luo Yunxiao's hands. Noticing Luo Yunxiao's gaze on him, he rubbed his nose in embarrassment. "I know that the talismans I drew and the pills I concocted are too low grade. Little Martial Uncle might not be interested in them, but it's better than nothing." Luo Yunxiao carefully put away the things in her hands and said in a low voice, "It's better than nothing." "What?" Mu Yan didn't hear it clearly and couldn't help but ask. Luo Yunxiao looked up and her voice became 3 degrees colder. "I will go to Tianguang ruins in 3 days, but if you dare to push me to someone else as you please, I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare." Mu Yan shakes her head like a rattle drum. "I swear, we won't dare again." Luo Yunxiao coldly snorts and directly waved his hand to drive Mu Yan out. Chapter 1443. Why does she feel that Xiao Shishu's anger isn't because they're using his name to swindle and deceive, but, this thought only faintly flashes by, and Mayan throws it to the back of her mind. She returns to her room with a trace of reluctance and ease. However, as soon as she pushes open the door and enters, Mayan's whole body freezes. At this moment, all the ease has turned into floating clouds on the horizon. If she could, she would really like to return to a day ago and cover her crow's mouth. Really, why did she mention Di Mingju? Why did she mention that a sea of jealousy would drown Yaguang branch? This is great, isn't it a prophecy? She sees that in the originally empty room, there's a tall and handsome man sitting there without her noticing. The man's long hair drapes over his shoulders, and his clothes are only loose inner garments. Leaning against the headboard, the lapels of his clothes are slightly open, revealing a perfectly textured and smooth chest. Mayan's line of sight slowly moves from his perfect abdominal muscles to his sexy collarbone and Adam's apple. Finally, it falls on that peerlessly handsome face, as if it was chiseled by a chisel. She can't help but swallow. This man has always been aloof, cold and hard like iron, unattainable. That's why he occasionally reveals such a sexy and charming appearance, making people completely unable to resist. The man is leaning against her bed, his long eyelashes slightly closed, as if he's taking a nap. When he senses Mayan's entrance, his long eyelashes lift, and his ice-blue pupils shine brightly. Like a whirlpool in the deep sea, it can suck in a person's soul. Mayan wails in her heart, a man with such long eyelashes, such charming eyes, such good skin, what's the use of such long eyelashes? Even the man's thin lips, under the candlelight, lose their coldness and softness, making people yearn to taste them. Mayan swallows her saliva again, and walks forward step by step. She doesn't know if the voice that opens its mouth is nervous, or scorching, but it's a bit hoarse. "Di Mingju, when did you come?" The man on the bed holds a wine glass in his hand, gently turning it on his fingertips. Hearing the question, the corner of his mouth hooks up, and he looks over with a smile that isn't a smile. "Naturally, I came when you said that you were going to warm Luo Yunxiao's bed." Mu Yan meets her man's outwardly smiling but inwardly murderous gaze. She only feels her scalp go numb, wishing that she could immediately turn around and run away. She coughs lightly, grabs a corner of his clothes, and carefully sits on the edge of the bed. "Cough, Di Mingju, listen to my explanation." Di Mingju snorts coldly, his gaze faintly looking at her, explain what? Explain that you're in trouble and you're willing to use Luo Yunxiao to support you, but you're not willing to let me help you? Or do you want to explain that you entered Luo Yunxiao's room in the middle of the night and gave him a bunch of talismans and pills that even I don't have? Mu Yan, she felt that someone's jealousy had not only flooded the Alcade branch, but the entire Danyang mountain range. Seeing that she didn't even bother to explain after being questioned like this, Di Mingju's heart immediately flares with anger. He abruptly grabs her wrist and pulls her into his embrace. Immediately after, without waiting for Mayan to react, he turns her over and presses her under his body. He viciously glares at her. Jun Mayan, what do you take Ben Jun for? Mu Yan blinked and met the man's angry gaze. Slowly, a sense of grievance welled up from the bottom of her heart. Chapter 1444. Di Mingju, I ascended the exquisite pagoda, the Nirvana pagoda, and the Ling Shao pagoda. I became the Lord of Clear Sky, and I made Yi Liang Chen's name resound throughout the entire Danyang mountain range. At that moment, I clearly felt Lil Bao's existence. I clearly felt that Lil Bao was very close to me. But I can't find him no matter what. I can't see him, and I can't touch him. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes, filled with sorrow, longing, and longing. Di Mingju rarely sees Mayan cry. Seeing such a girl, he immediately panicked. He promptly gets up and takes Mayan into his arms. Jun Shangdaran, who has always been cold, speaks incoherently for once. Yen Yen, don't cry, I was wrong. Mu Yan suddenly grabs his hand and ruthlessly bites it. A hoarse voice rises with a sobbing tone. Di Mingju, I want to see Xiao Bao. Being bitten by someone is naturally extremely painful, but Di Mingju doesn't feel it at all. He only gently hugs Mayan, his voice full of regret. All right, I will definitely let you see Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao is my son. I know he is very strong and will be fine. But like you, I also miss him very much. I hope to be able to reunite with you and Xiao Bao's family as soon as possible. Jun Shangdaran has almost exhausted the strength of his entire life, saying a lot of soft words that he wouldn't normally use to comfort the person in his arms. Mu Yan sniffled and continued to complain. I participated in the Flourishing Heavenly Light competition to see Xiao Bao, but you got jealous and even got angry at me. I borrowed little Marshall Uncle's name just to get the first place. Di Mingju hugs her tightly. His heart is still somewhat stuffy, but in the end, he only says domineeringly, Ben Jun will use Jingshi to smash you to the top of the Heavenly Light list. Mayan raises her head and looks at Jun Shangdaran's indignation, but he's forcefully suppressing it, not daring to flare up. He couldn't help but curl the corner of his lips and let out a long sigh. However, a trace of slyness flashed across his eyes. Finally, the whole thing was over. She plays with Jun Shangdaran's slender fingers, and the smile on her face has more dependence and sweetness that hasn't appeared in the past few days. Not at the moment. I can handle such a small situation by myself. But... Mayan raises her head and looks straight into Di Mingju's deep eyes. If I really can't handle it, then in order to get the first place, I can only count on my hubby to support me. Di Mingju's body suddenly stiffens, and the hand holding Mayan tightens. What did you just call me? Mu Yan's gaze wandered and she chuckled. I didn't say anything. Did you hear it wrong? Jun Mayan. Jun Shangdaran's tone has once again become flustered and exasperated, accusing him by name. But at this time, Mu Yan is not afraid of her at all. She flipped over and pressed the man under her body, looking down at him condescendingly, the corners of her lips raised high. Will Jun Shang come to watch the finals of the prosperous Heavenly Light in 2 days? Di Mingju wanted to agree. However, when he recalled that it was Qingguang ruins, his expression turned ugly. He grits his teeth and spits out words with difficulty. Ben Jun has something to do and can't go, but Han Yu will go. No matter how many crystals you need, he'll give it to you even if he has to sell all the goods in Tianguang ruins. TSK, all the goods in Tianguang ruins. Isn't Di Jun a bit too wasteful? Chapter 1445. But she could also vaguely guess that Tianguang ruins might be the territory of Di Mingju's enemy. Di Mingju might be in danger if he went in. She lowered her head and pecked the man's lips, then thank you for supporting me. Di Mingju's eyes darkened. He suddenly turned over and pressed her under his body. His icy blue eyes reflected a hot and dangerous light. This is a thank you gift. He held Mu Yan's chin, then leaned over and kissed her heavily. Yan, this is not even enough to pay the interest. Time passed in the blink of an eye. There was only one day left before the prosperous Heavenly Light final. Mu Yan walked on the way to the public class in the school of the Emperor Star. She only felt that the atmosphere of the entire starry school was about to go to war. No matter where she walked, the name Yi Liangqin would be poured into her ears. Ling Yuxing, who was walking beside Mu Yan, looked at the girl beside him and couldn't help but be speechless. Half of the azure blue world is so excited and nervous about your participation in the prosperous Heavenly Light final tomorrow that they can't sleep. Only junior sister still has the mood to come to the public class. Mu Yan smiled slightly and was about to speak. Suddenly, a few people rushed over from the side. Yaoguang branch, wait a moment. A chubby young man blocked in front of them and stuffed a stack of talismans into their hands without any explanation. These are Almighty Ye's talismans. I'm giving them to your Alcade branch for free. Remember to go to Tianguang ruins tomorrow to support our Almighty Yi. Mu Yan looked down at the talismans in her hands. There was an obvious mark of the Tian Mo Qin that she made. She raised her head in surprise. These talismans are not cheap, right? You guys actually gave them for free. Fatty Zheng waved his hand indifferently. For our boss Yi, this little bit of crystal stones is nothing. Moreover, boss Ye's talismans are so good. One more person who has used it will naturally have one more person to promote for our boss Yi. But I warn you, after taking the talismans, you must go to Tianguang ruins tomorrow to support boss Yi, otherwise. The little fatty waved his meaty fist. This young master will teach you a lesson. Mayan doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. She looks around and sees everyone sparing no effort to promote her. Listening to those, boss Yi is number one under the heavens, boss Yi is invincible, propaganda, she unconsciously feels a burst of sourness and warmth in her heart. Even if it was for the sake of those who had been supporting her and protecting her, she couldn't lose this glorious heavenly light. What did you say? I dare you to say it again. Suddenly, an angry and shrill female roar came from the side. Mu Yan turns her head to look, only to discover that the one who spoke is actually Jiang Xinyu. At this moment, she was glaring fiercely at the few male cultivators in front of her, gnashing her teeth and stamping with rage. The few male cultivators in front of her disdainfully threw away the talismans in their hands. He sneered and said, "Am I wrong? The flourishing heavenly light has been held for so many years. Have you ever seen a talisman artist win the first place? That's right. The price of a random pill from Fairy Yaodai might be equivalent to their entire day's income. Supporting Great God Yi for first place. Aren't they afraid of making a fool out of themselves? Ha ha ha, no matter how good a talisman's effect is, could it be better than an elixir? I heard that for tomorrow's finals, Fairy Yaodai has already prepared the ultimate elixir, the explosive spirit pill. Chapter 1446. That's a life-saving medicine at a critical moment. Of course. The person who spoke was clearly a loyal supporter of Leng Yuyao. He raised his head proudly. Other than Fairy Yaodai, who else in the cultivation continent can make a 6th grade elixir before the age of 25? Moreover, it's the extremely rare 6th grade spirit explosion pill. This time, Fairy Yaodai is definitely qualified to be first in the glorious heavenly light. I admit that Yi Liangqin is the undisputed champion of the 3 academies in terms of combat power. However, in terms of popularity in the glorious heavenly light, Fairy Yaodai beats him. If you don't believe me, watch tomorrow's competition. If I'm wrong, I'll crawl around Tai Square while barking like a dog. Ha ha ha, only these idiots think that a talisman artist can beat Fairy Yaodai and get first place. Yi Liangqin is nothing. Even if he gets the leader of the Green Cloud sect, what right does he have to be compared to Fairy Yaodai? Fatty Zheng was enraged. He couldn't care less about persuading Mu Yan and the rest anymore. He leaped towards the people who spoke. Fuck you idiots. You can insult me, but how dare you insult Boss Yi? I'll scratch you to death. The few of them instantly started fighting. In the Starry School, Yi Liangqin's fans had an overwhelming advantage. Very quickly, Ling Yuyao's supporters were beaten until they begged for mercy. However, Fatty Zhang and the rest didn't gain any advantage either. Because very quickly, the people from the student council rushed over and separated the 2 parties. Jiang Xinyu's hair was all messed up. She looked very disheveled. However, her eyes were still burning. She gritted her teeth and said, "How dare these people slander God Yi? I'll curse them behind their backs. Fatty Zhang, I'm warning you. You must help God Yi get first place and kill Fairy Yaodia's arrogance." Zhang Little Fatty wiped the sweat on his face and said loudly, "Don't worry, Great God Yi is the boss that I, Xing Jiabao, know. He's the #1 in the world, and no one can defeat him. Brothers, let's go to Heaven Luo City with me to publicize." Jiang Xinyu waved her hand too. "Sisters, come with me to Cangyan City to promote." She turned around and met Mu Yan's smiling gaze. Jiang Xinyu's carefree movements froze as she recalled her current sorry state. She runs her fingers through her hair in a flurry, and with a red face, she says, "Jun Mayan, what are you laughing at? I'm doing this to support God Yi." The smile on Mayan's face deepens. She steps forward and removes a leaf from her hair. Her voice was soft, "Don't worry. Yap will definitely win. We won't let you down." As soon as Jiang Xinyu raised her head, she was met with a pair of peach blossom eyes that were like the galaxy in a summer night. The young girl's beautiful face was right in front of him, and her voice was like the sounds of nature, ringing in his ears. Jiang Xinyu's face suddenly turned red. She stammered, "Why you? Don't forget to support Guru Yi tomorrow." After saying that, she ran away with a red face. Ling Yuxing couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. "Little junior sister, what kind of magic do you have? Dressing as a man and dressing as a woman, you managed to make the young lady fall head over heels for you." However, Mu Yan retracted his smile and said in a deep voice, let's go back. Go back. Don't you have a public lecture?" Chapter 1447. Ling Yuxing nods, and the two are about to return to the Yaoguang branch. Suddenly, a clear male voice comes from behind, Shaoxing. Ling Yuxing's body stiffens, his brows slightly wrinkling. Soon, he sees Ouyang Qing walking quickly to the two. He doesn't even look at Mayan, who is next to him. His eyes seem to be glued to Ling Yuxing, greedily staring at him, as if he can't get enough of it. Ling Yuxing only feels that the gaze is scorching, as if it's going to burn his body and mind. He suppresses the inexplicable irritation and palpitation in his heart, frowning, "Junior sister, let's go." "Shaoxing, wait a minute." Ouyang Qing quickly pulls him back. Ling Yuxing angrily wants to shake him off, isn't young Master Ouyang busy being a good brother and sending his little sister home? How come you have time to come back to the school? However, Ouyang Qing's hand firmly clasps his wrist, pulling him a little closer. The man's voice is extremely low, so low that only Mayan and Ling Yuxing can hear it. Shaoxing, it's almost over. Give me a little more time. Ling Yuxing is startled, looking up to the man's scorching eyes that contain ice-cold killing intent. A trace of doubt flits through his heart. However, before he can ask clearly, he finds that the surrounding people have begun to notice the two people who are very close. There are even many die-hard supporters of Ouyang Qing, angrily pointing at him. Ling Yuxing fiercely swings his hand, pushing the person away a little. Stay away from me. Ouyang Qing staggers back 2 steps, his handsome face showing a hurt and disappointed expression. Ling Yuxing's heart inexplicably tightens. Ouyang Qing quickly restrains the expression on his face, saying softly, Shaoxing, in the school, you can find me if you need me to do anything. Even if I have to go through water and tread on fire, even if. Let me die, I will do it for you. Ling Yuxing is so annoyed that he wants to say, I'm not familiar with you. Suddenly, he seems to have thought of something, a pair of quick-witted eyes turn slightly. Are you really willing to help me with anything? Ouyang Qing's face brightens, quickly stepping forward and saying, Yes, Shaoxing, as long as it's your request, no matter what you want me to do, I will definitely do it. Ling Yuxing said, Then can you mobilize the entire Tianshu institution to support Yi Liangchen in Tianguang ruins tomorrow? Ouyang Qing, Mu Yan, the onlookers. Ouyang Qing's face twisted for a second. She said with jealousy, Sheng, since when did you like that Yi Liangchen so much? Ling Yuxing looked at Yi Futian as if he was being ridiculous. Yi Liangchen is the leader of the Qingyun school, the top of the exquisite ranking, and the strongest cultivator in the starry school. Why can't I admire and like him? Ouyang Qing, who was ranked 3rd on the list of delicacy, was speechless. He felt as if his heart had been stabbed. The onlookers who had been looking at Ling Yuxing with hostility immediately became excited when they heard this. So he's also a supporter of God Yi like us. This junior brother is right. God Yi is so powerful. Who else should I support if not him? Ling Yuxing narrowed his eyes at Ouyang Qing. You said you would help me with anything. Were you lying to me? Chapter 1448. Ouyang Qing gnashed his teeth when he said the name Yi Liangchen, as if he wanted to chew him to pieces. Mu Yan couldn't help shivering because of this monstrous jealousy. Ling Yuxing couldn't help but smile. Thank you, Brother Qing. Ouyang Qing suddenly froze and stood stiffly in the same place. He didn't even notice that Ling Yuxing and Mu Yan had left. After a long time, he suddenly covered his eyes with his hands, covering his reddened eyes. How long had it been since the incident that year? How long had it been since Shaoxing called him Brother Qing? When the two got on the flying boat. Mu Yan looked down at Ouyang Qing, who was still standing in the same place like a wooden chicken, and couldn't help laughing. 5th senior brother, I really want to thank you. For me, you even used a honey trap. Ling Yuxing's face turned red and he said, What honey trap? Don't talk nonsense. After a pause, he said, Even Jiang Xinyu and the others are so busy for you, wanting you to win the championship. As your 5th senior brother, as long as I can help you, what can't I do? Mu Yan's smile recedes, and a little bit of warmth floats in her eyes, and I know that my fellow disciples are very good to me. I know how lucky I am to be able to enter the Xiaoyao sect. Ling Yuxing suddenly frowned slightly. I heard from eldest senior brother that Ling Yuyao is really difficult to deal with. There are many geniuses in alchemy in the Flowing Moon sect, and Ling Yuyao is a peerless alchemy genius pursued by all the elders of the Flowing Moon sect. At the age of 25, she is already a 6th-grade alchemist, and her cultivation is also very high. She is now at the early stage of the Gold Core realm. I heard that even in the Flowing Moon sect, only a few people can successfully refine the Spirit Explosion pill. This time, Ling Yuyao took out the Spirit Explosion pill to participate in the final of the Flourishing Heavenly Light. It can be said that she has the confidence to win. Hearing this, Mu Yen frowned slightly. The Flowing Moon sect, Ling Yuyao, Fairy Yao Dai. She suddenly recalled that the young master of the D clan who fought with her for the purple gold pill furnace that day in Azure Cloud City seemed to want to give it to Evolution Moon sect's Fairy Yao Dai. In the end, relying on the income from Di Mingju and the young martial uncle's classes, Mu Yen barely managed to gather enough crystal stones within 7 days, and snatched the 7th-grade alchemy furnace that Qi Huang has his eyes on. She did not expect that the cultivation world was so small. After going around in circles, she actually met someone from the Flow Moon sect again. Furthermore, it was an old acquaintance. It seemed that if the Flourishing Heavenly Light did not win this time, it would be unfair to the Flowing Moon sect for harming him back then. Ling Yuxing looks at Mayan worriedly. Little junior sister, are you confident that you can beat her? Mu Yan looks back, the corners of her eyes slowly lifting up. A strong and disdainful self-confidence blooms brilliantly in this absolutely beautiful smile. 5th senior brother, what do you think? Seeing her smile, Ling Yuxing couldn't help but laugh and shake his head. He had asked a stupid question. Ling Yuyao was a peerless alchemy genius. But their junior sister was a monster that only appeared once in 10 million years. Di Mingju crossed the entire starry school. Others would need an hour with the flying boat, but he only needed a moment. However, it was at this moment. The voice captured by the divine consciousness made the Lord's expression extremely ugly. Ah, God Yi is my favorite, I want to marry God Yi. Chapter 1449. All of you get lost, great God Yi belongs to all of us. No one is allowed to monopolize him. Tomorrow, everyone will go to Tianguang ruins to support great God Yi. Liang Chen's army will be invincible, not even a blade of grass will grow. Di Mingju pushes open the door and sees the girl who has just finished drawing a talisman, her forehead slightly covered in sweat. Without saying anything further, he directly holds her in his arms and fiercely kisses her. Mayan is kissed silly. However, feeling her fiancé's monstrous anger, she still pacifies him. Until both of their bodies were on fire, and they almost couldn't control the overflowing desire. Only then does Di Mingju release Mayan's swollen lips. But Jun Shangdaren's complexion is still a little unsightly, you are Ben Jun's. Only Ben Jun can monopolize you. Those bastards are dreaming. Want to marry Yen Yen, want to marry Yen Yen. When those voices enter his ears, Di Mingju really wishes he could directly turn that group of courtyards into flying ash. Mayan is confused, but she still gently pats Di Mingju's back, like appeasing a child who has a temper. She chuckles and says, all right, I am yours, only you can monopolize me. Only then does Jun Shangdaren's complexion ease a little. But he thinks that everyone has to go to Tianguang ruins to support Mayan, and he can't go in. Jun Shangdaren somewhat gnashes his teeth. Tomorrow, Jun will also go to Tianguang ruins. Mayan jumps in fright and promptly stops him. You're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to do anything that will endanger yourself, do you hear me? Di Mingju lowers his eyes and doesn't speak. But in his mind, he has an unimaginable thought. Mayan is about to force him to agree, but Di Mingju deliberately changes the subject. His gaze turns and falls on the talisman that Mayan has just drawn. It was just a casual glance, but when he sees it clearly, his pupils slightly contract. This is a talisman that you drew? Yes. Mayan chuckles and nods. Mingju picks up the talisman and looks at it for a long time, then his shocked gaze falls on Mayan. After a long time, he whispers, "Yen Yen, how many more surprises do you have for Benjun?" Mayan wraps her arms around the man's waist and slightly tilts her head. Her peach blossom eyes are gleaming like rippling waves, bewitching him as if it doesn't cost money. "If I am not outstanding enough, how can I be worthy of the most handsome, most perfect, and most mighty polar domain's sovereign emperor?" The final round of the prosperous heavenly light began under the expectations of the audience. It was different from the classification competition that lasted for a month. The final result of the final election will be decided within a day. 2 hours before the start of the competition, every contestant had to submit a work that they had refined, including but not limited to elixirs, magic treasures, and talismans, to be stored in the Jade Key of the Tianguang ruins. After the start of the competition, the items in the Jade Key space would automatically be stored in the ethereal mansion in Tianguang ruins for the practitioners in the upper, middle and lower districts to experience. It was impossible to truly enjoy the effects of medicinal pills, magic treasures, or talismans. However, Tianguang ruins could simulate the situation after consuming pills, using magic treasures, and burning talismans. That kind of feeling was incomparably real, as if he was really there. Aside from the fact that it couldn't be used on the physical body, it was as if these people were really enjoying the effects of these treasures. Therefore, every time a practitioner experiences the ethereal mansion, they would need to spend a high-grade crystal. At the same time, the contestants would also get a point. Chapter 1450. Apart from the generous rewards, the cultivators who obtained the first place would also receive their names and identities. Most importantly, their names and identities would be announced to the various cities and towns of the 4 major domains. Every city tower would hang this name for at least a month. That was what it meant to be famous throughout the world, to be known by everyone. Before the hour had passed, the Rebirth Plaza in the upper, middle and lower districts of the Tianguang ruins was already packed with people. The Rebirth Plaza didn't look very big. But at this moment, even though it should have far exceeded its capacity, it didn't seem crowded at all. And because it was a virtual Tianguang ruins. Even if one sat cross-legged on the ground and watched leisurely, they wouldn't have to worry about being trampled. Everyone in the plaza only needed to raise their heads to see the huge tower in the middle. When the hour arrived, the stiff and mechanical voice of Little Tian sounded without any undulation. The finals of the prosperous Tianguang ruins will now begin. Contestants, please enter the stage. 20th place, Talisman List, Dancing Like Ice. Just as Little Tian finished speaking, a ray of light appeared at the window of the first floor of the huge tower. Above the window, the words, "Dancing Like Ice," appeared in large, glittering golden letters. Immediately after, an enchanting and charming woman appeared at the window. Once the woman appeared, she immediately made an extremely seductive gesture towards the crowd below. Her fair long legs were raised high, revealing a part that made people's blood boil, and then gently lowered. A delicate and gentle female voice sounded in everyone's ears. "I'm Lu Ruoxuan. Today, I've brought eternal talismans. Please advise me." Although the window of the huge tower was called a window, it was actually like a huge arched door. The woman's appearance and seductive gesture were completely and clearly displayed in front of the crowd. The male cultivators below the huge tower immediately swallowed a mouthful of saliva as they stared fixedly at Lu Ruoxuan. Someone even shouted in an extremely vulgar voice, "Take off your clothes, and I'll go and experience your talismans." How about that? Yes, yes, take off your clothes. Many of the female cultivators and upright male cultivators present revealed a disgusted expression. But Lu Ruoxuan didn't care at all. Instead, she smiled even more coquettishly as she sat by the window of the huge tower. Even when she sat down, she crossed one of her long legs and slightly leaned forward to reveal her chest, making one's heart itch unbearably. Jiang Xinyu looked at Lu Ruoxuan in disgust and shock. Isn't this woman a pure and kind white lotus? How did you become so slutty now? Jing Jiabao wanted to vomit at the thought of being bewitched by this woman. Did he lose his mind at that time? He actually thought that this woman was kind and pure. Fortunately, Boss Yi woke him up. Right at this moment, little Tian's stiff voice resounded once more. 19th, Talisman List, Yi Liang Qin. As a white light flashed on the second floor of the tower, the words Yap Liang Qin also appeared on the window. At the same time, an ordinary-looking girl appeared at the window. She was obviously wearing the most ordinary clothes and the simplest movements, but when she did it, it seemed like floating clouds and flowing water, graceful and noble. Cheers immediately rang out from the crowd. Carefree Bro, Little Fatty Jing, and the others were the happiest. But most people scoffed at the top of the talisman list. One had to know that the ethereal hall's experience cost a high-grade crystal stone each time. Chapter 1451. For an ordinary rogue cultivator, a piece of high-grade crystal stone could support their expenses for a year. Elixirs were expensive to begin with. A 5th-grade elixir would cost over 1,000 high-grade crystals. Spending a high-grade crystal stone to experience the effects of the elixir and comprehend its mysteries was absolutely worth it. The same went for magic treasures. But what were talismans? Even a 5th-grade talisman was only worth a high-grade crystal stone. But now, to experience it required a high-grade crystal stone. Weren't people stupid to try it out? So at this moment, apart from those die-hard supporters, almost everyone firmly believed. Of the two who climbed up the talisman roll, 19 and 20 were already their limits. The names of the participants of the Flourishing Heavenly Light Finals were revealed one by one. And the windows of the tower from the 1st to the 20th floor were lit up one by one. Finally, little Tian called out the last name. First place, Elixir Roll, Leng Yuyao. The moment this name came out, the entire reincarnation square erupted in cheers, almost resounding through the sky. Fairy Yaodai, I love you. Fairy Yaodai, I've already spoken to the clan. No matter how many crystals we have to spend, we'll definitely make you the champion. Fairy Yaodai, we pledge our lives to follow you. The window of the 20th floor of the tower was lit up, and a gorgeous woman appeared at the window. She was tall, but her face was extremely small. Her facial features were exquisite, and there was a hint of delicate beauty. But her expression was arrogant and cold, like a high mountain flower that people yearned for but couldn't pluck. But the more arrogant she was, the crazier the male cultivators below became, all of them shouting goddess and fairy, almost turning the entire Tianguang ruins upside down. Easy Bro shrunk his neck in defeat, it's over. Why is this fairy Yaodia support so powerful? It looks like boss can't win. Just as he finished speaking, Jing Little Fatty glared at him, bullshit. Boss Yi is the most powerful. He can even take down Azure Sky, Sect Master. What does a mere flourishing heavenly light count for? Boss will definitely win. Su Zi looked at the unprepossessing girl on the 2nd floor of the tower, his eyes shining brightly. He couldn't help but count the crystals he had placed in the jade key. In order to support little Missy, he had specially returned to the Su family to retrieve a large sum of crystal stones. He must help little Missy get first place. When all the contestants were in position, an ancient palace slowly appeared in front of the giant tower. Right in front of the palace hung a large signboard that read Ethereal House. There were a total of 20 doors in the stadium, and the names of the contestants were engraved on each door. Inside the door were the medicinal pills, magic treasures, or talismans that each contestant had submitted. The contestants in the huge tower could still stay by the window and look down at the magnificent scene below. They could also come down from above and interact with their supporters to promote themselves and increase their points. The finals of Flourishing Heavenly Light has officially begun. Little Tian's dull but steady voice sounded. The people on the reincarnation square swarmed into the misty house. It was just that most people chose the expensive elixirs and magic treasures. In comparison, the 19th and the 20th gates could be said to be the least visited by people. Mu Yen still hasn't had the time to come down from the tower. Chapter 1452. Her exposed body is like a swallow returning to the woods. She throws herself into the arms of a fat man. The fat man is very fat and oily. He has a silly expression on his face. Saliva drips from the corner of his mouth from time to time. From the looks of it, he was clearly a fool. But when Lu Ruoxuan throws herself at him, he immediately grabs her breasts. He doesn't care about the eyes of the people around him. He touches Lu Ruoxuan all over. Lu Ruoxuan's eyes flash with disgust, but she doesn't show it on her face. On the contrary, she becomes more and more charming. The fat man was obviously satisfied. He waved his fat and greasy hand and said in an unclear tone, "Smash, give this young master all the crystal stones to Liao." Mu Yan just comes down from the tower. Bei Kuei and Xiang Yuan come up to her anxiously. "Miss, do you know that fat man? He seems to be Zhu Quanyong, the son of Zhu Fugue." Elegant brother grits his teeth and says, "I didn't expect that Lu Ruoxuan even hooks up with Zhu Chuanyong's son. I heard that although Zhu Quanyong is a fool, he is very liked by Zhu Fugue. He has a lot of crystals. What should we do? Sister Yi can't lose to that Lu Ruoxuan. Everyone in the Laozi is #1 under the heavens." Store remembered the bet between Mu Yen and Lu Ruoxuan. While they are talking, Mu Yen finds that the position of the tower has changed. When the contestants leave the tower, the windows of the tower don't become empty. Instead, the portraits of the contestants appear. At this time, Lu Ruoxuan's name and portrait have swapped places with Yap Liangchen. She is ranked 19th. And Yap Liangchen is at the bottom. In fact, not long after the competition started, most of the contestants' positions have changed. Only Leng Yuyao's position is stable. She has more than double the points of the second place. Leng Yuyao doesn't even come down from the high platform. She is so cold and aloof, with the attitude of a goddess. However, her supporters were still crazy about her. Mu Yan's line of sight moves up, looking at Leng Yuyao on the tall tower. The corner of her mouth hooks up in a faintly discernible arc. At this time, Lu Ruoxuan's voice comes from behind. "Yi Liangchen, from now on, you have to kowtow 3 times when you see me. Don't ever forget that." Mu Yan turns around and glances at her with a smile that isn't a smile. "This is also what I want to remind you. Remember to kowtow together with your head on the leaderboard." He thought about how Yi Liangchen had turned the tables on the talisman puppet board at the last moment. Lu Ruoxuan's face twisted. She gritted her teeth and said, "Yi Liangchen, you can only be proud for a few hours." After speaking, Lu Ruoxuan returned to Zhu Chuanyong's side, allowing him to lift her clothes in public and play with her as if she was a prostitute. Her heart was filled with disgust and disgust, but she still had to let out an artificial moan. Mei Xian's voice could be heard from time to time in her sea of consciousness. "Lu Ruoxuan, don't you want to see Yi Liangchen die miserably in the Tianguang ruins? Why are you seducing such a disgusting man here? As long as you temporarily give me the control of your divine soul, I can naturally help you get rid of him." Lu Ruoxuan's expression changed again and again. One moment she was disgusted, the next moment she was greedy, and the next moment she was terrified. She was very eager to let Mei Axian kill Yap Liangchen. Chapter 1453. She once again faced Zhu Chuanyong's greasy mouth that was nibbling on her. On the other side, Lu Ruoxuan's points were getting higher and higher, and even climbed up one place in the giant tower, becoming the 18th. Easy Bro and the others were anxious. Boss Yi, what should we do? I'll go back and ask my grandfather for crystals now. Mu Yan, however, had a calm expression. What's the hurry? Didn't the competition just start? If you're bored, why don't you go to the Misty House and experience my new barrier-breaking talisman? Barrier-breaking talisman. Easy Bro was confused. How come I've never heard of this talisman before? Yeah, Boss Yi, what's the effect of this barrier-breaking talisman? Is it a variant 4th grade talisman? Mu Yan raised her eyebrows. None of you have experienced it before. Easy Bro and Fatty Jing looked at each other, feeling a little embarrassed. Because it took time to experience the talisman. So in order to increase their points as soon as possible, they were desperately throwing crystals. Even Yi Liangchen supporters gathered below said the same thing, only throwing crystals, no experience. As for the effect of the talisman drawn by Boss Yi was naturally the best. What was there to experience? Buying one later only cost one high-grade talisman, why waste this time? But now hearing Mu Yan's question, they were very ashamed. Boss Yi worked so hard to draw the talisman, but they didn't sincerely support him. They were too unworthy to be Boss Ye's diehard fans. Mu Yan smiled, not the slightest bit annoyed. Why don't you go and experience it first? It might be good for you, especially Easy Bro, and Chen Ping, Wu Gui, you guys. Easy Bro was confused. It was just an experience. What benefits could there be? But since the boss said so, he immediately said, Boss, don't worry, I will definitely go and experience it well, I won't let down boss's hard work. But Easy Bro also decided that even if he had to experience it, he would only experience it once. For the rest of the time, he would desperately throw crystals. However, a quarter of an hour later, Easy Bro and Chin Ping and the others staggered out of the Misty House, but their faces were blank and helpless. Their whole person seemed to have gone silly. Bei Kue Xiang Nguan nervously walked forward. Brother Gua, what's wrong? What's the problem with Sister Ye's talisman? She did not finish her sentence. Easy Bro suddenly let out a weird howl. No, I want to experience it again. That mysterious feeling just now. I'm going to. I'm coming to. Then, without even seeing Bei Kue, Xiang Nguan, and Jing Xiaopeng, they rushed straight into the ethereal mansion. The few people who stayed outside looked at each other, their faces full of surprise. Fatty Jing, boss, what's so different about the talismans you drew this time? Why are they so strange? Jiang Xinyu, why don't we give it a try too? Therefore, the supporters who stayed outside also went in after a discussion. Then, all the loyal supporters of Yap Liangchen fell into this endless cycle. Everyone came out of it in a daze. He let out another strange cry, as if his buttocks were on fire, and hurriedly rushed back. The commotion here finally attracted the attention of the other people in the reincarnation square. Chapter 1454. Yeah, even if it's Fairy Yaodia's spiritual explosion pill, it's enough to experience it once. I've just tried it, and the spiritual explosion pill indeed lives up to its name. But there's no real effect after all, so what's the point of trying it a few more times? I support Fairy Yaodai, just throw crystals at her. Who asked Yap Liangchen supporters to be a bunch of paupers? They don't have money to waste, so they can only waste time. Most of the people snorted at this scene. But some people couldn't help but be curious about what kind of talisman could make these people so addicted. So, thinking that it would at most cost one crystal, they walked into the ethereal house. After a quarter of an hour, the crowd saw these practitioners who went into the ethereal house to experience the talisman walk out one by one in a daze. They looked exactly the same as Elegant Bro and the others. My God, what kind of talisman is this? Why didn't I know that talismans have such an effect? No, I have to experience it again. After saying that, they immediately turned around and rushed in. Everyone's movements were neat and uniform, without the slightest delay. This time, the onlookers in the reincarnation square were really dumbfounded. So what if Yap Liangchen supporters were crazy? Why did these passers-by become abnormal after going into the ethereal house? Finally, someone couldn't help but pull one of the practitioners who ran out of the ethereal house. Brotherly, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with that talisman? The male practitioner who was pulled stared blankly, his whole body in a trance, as if he couldn't react. Hearing this person's question, he slowly raised his head, and said with a faint voice, just a little bit more, I feel just a little bit more, and I can break through to the 8th level of fasting. That mysterious feeling, I feel like I'm almost grasping it. No, I have to try it again. Then, he turned around and was about to rush into the ethereal house again. The person who asked the question was shocked. Break through to the 8th level of fasting. Are you kidding? What kind of talisman is it? He knew that this brotherly had been stuck at the 7th level of fasting for almost a year, and no matter what he did, he couldn't break through to the 8th level of fasting. But now, he was just experiencing the talisman, not using it. Yet, he was already on the verge of a breakthrough. However, before he could ask for more details, Brotherly had already thrown him off and rushed back into the ethereal house as if he was afraid that someone would rob him of some treasure. The person who asked the question was shocked and confused, but his heart began to itch again. He originally had a good impression of Fairy Yao Dai, but it was not to the extent of adoration and worship. This time, he had not prepared many crystal stones. He only planned to support Fairy Yao Dai a little. But when he saw his friend in such a state, he could not help but grit his teeth and enter the ethereal house. As more and more people entered the 19th Dao Gate, more and more people began to enter, like a rolling snowball. On the other side, Zhu Kuanyong did not care about the people around him. He directly tore off Lu Ruoxuan's clothes and arched his whole body. However, at this moment, someone shouted. Yi Liangchen's points have increased. Lu Ruoxuan was shocked. She quickly pushed Zhu Kuanyong away and looked up. On the giant tower, Mu Yan's ranking is no longer at the bottom 20. Instead, it became 19. Chapter 1455. His score was closing in on Lu Ruoxuan's. How could this be? Lu Ruoxuan screamed, impossible. How could his score increase so fast? She turned around and saw a huge crowd outside the ethereal hall. Most of these people were going to Leng Yuyao's number 1 hall and Yin Zhe's number 2 hall. But now, some of them started to line up in number 19 hall, which was the room where Yi Liangchen's talisman was. Crystals could be thrown at any time. There was no time limit. But there was a limit on the number of people who could experience the ethereal hall. Once the capacity was exceeded, they had to line up according to the order of payment. How could this happen? Lu Ruoxuan's face twisted. It was the same talisman, but there was not a single person in front of his number 20 pavilion. But there were so many people in front of Yi Liangchen's number 19 hall. Ah! Look! He passed. Yi Liangchen is now 18th. Lu Ruoxuan raised her head abruptly and saw Yi Liangchen's portrait and name above her head. It was shining with a golden light and pressing her down firmly. Her eyes were about to spit fire. She turned to Zhu Kuanyong. Where are the crystals? Smash them. Hurry up and smash them all down. Zhu Kuanyong drooled as he reached out and grabbed Lu Ruoxuan's slender waist. His plump lips kept nibbling on Lu Ruoxuan's body. Kiss. I want a kiss. Lu Ruoxuan resisted the nausea and kissed Zhu Kuanyong for a while. Then, Zhu Kuanyong threw a lot of crystals into number 20 hole. Finally, Dancing Ice surpassed Yi Liangqin and was ranked 19th. However, before Lu Ruoxuan could feel happy, Yi Liangqin's score surpassed her again. Lu Ruoxuan screamed, "Crystals! Where are the crystals? Smash them!" Zhu Kuanyong swallowed his saliva and shook his head. "I don't have any more crystals. I haven't finished kissing you yet. Get lost." Lu Ruoxuan kicked him away. "You want to touch me when you don't have any crystals? Idiot! Get lost." She looked at the male cultivators fiercely. "What are you waiting for? Why aren't you throwing crystals at me? Don't forget that you still need my immortal talismans. If I lose to that bitch Yi Liangqin, you guys can forget about getting an immortal talisman in this lifetime." Hearing the words immortal talisman, the male cultivators around Lu Ruoxuan, including Wang Jinbin, all revealed expressions of horror and hatred. But when they thought of the pain they would feel when the immortal talisman took effect, they still walked into the ethereal house. However, Lu Ruoxuan's supporters were too few, and almost all of the spar stones had been used up in the classification list. At this moment, even if Lu Ruoxuan squeezed out all of their wealth, they could only watch the gap between Yi Liangqin and her getting bigger and bigger. 18th place, 17th place, 12th place, 10th place. Yi Liangqin's portrait and name appeared in the middle of the tower. Moreover, the points were still rising rapidly. On the other hand, Lu Ruoxuan, since Zhu Chuanyong's crystal stones were exhausted, her ranking did not rise but instead fell, and now she had already fallen to 19th place. She was definitely going to lose. A crushing defeat. Jiang Xinyu's cultivation was relatively low. After experiencing the ethereal mansion more than a dozen times, she came out contentedly and no longer fought for a spot. Chapter 1456. Then, she looked at Lu Ruoxuan, who was in a daze and had a twisted face. She walked to Lu Ruoxuan and mocked, "Lu Ruoxuan, are you ready to kneel and beg for mercy when you see God Yi in the future?" Lu Ruoxuan stared at her with bloodshot eyes. Her body couldn't help but tremble. Jiang Xinyu glared at her in disgust. "My brother used to say that you're pure, kind, and pure for someone like you. Luckily, he sees your true colors now. Lu Ruoxuan, a bitch like you is only fit to sleep with thousands of men. Kneel and kowtow to God Yi. I don't want you to dirty God Yi's eyes." Without waiting for Lu Ruoxuan's response, Jiang Xinyu walked away arrogantly. Although she wasn't going to experience it in the ethereal hall, she still had to spend crystals. She was going to support God Yi to the end. Lu Ruoxuan stared at Jiang Xinyu's back. Her eyes were filled with hatred and resentment. Then, she turned to the girl who was surrounded by many. The Yi Liangqin, who sent her to the 18th level of hell. She wanted to tear her into pieces. At this moment, Mei Xian's voice rang in Lu Ruoxuan's ears again. "How is it? Now, you should know that you can't defeat Yi Liangqin without me. Give me the control of your divine soul. I promise that Yi Liangqin will be doomed forever." Mei Xian's voice was full of temptation. It kept echoing in Lu Ruoxuan's head that was filled with hatred. Finally, she gritted her teeth and said, "Fine. But you have to promise that you'll make that bitch Yi Liangqin die a horrible death." In Lu Ruoxuan's sea of consciousness, Mei Xian showed a proud and coquettish smile. She devoured Lu Ruoxuan's divine soul bit by bit and wrapped it in her primordial spirit. Then, she took control of Lu Ruoxuan's body in Tianguang ruins. Mei Axian looked at Yi Liangchen greedily. She found out that Yap Liangchen's soul was so delicious the last time she touched him. It was 100 times more delicious than Lu Ruoxuan's divine soul. It was the real deal. Since she could become the leader of Qingyun's sect, her physique and talent must be monstrous. As long as she could devour Yi Liangchen's divine soul and take over his body, there was no need to worry about not being able to see the light of day again and shake the world once more. As for the backlash from attacking someone's divine soul in the Tianguang ruins, the backlash was naturally born by Lu Ruoxuan's spirit. Furthermore, the demonic technique that she cultivated allowed her to hide very well. Even Tianguang Su wouldn't be able to discover her. Mu Yan is listening to Jiang Xinyu excitedly explain the effects of the barrier-breaking talisman. Lu Ruoxuan swayed her hips as she walked over gracefully. Walking up to Mayan, she doesn't reveal an angry expression. Instead, she smiles charmingly. Yi Liangchen, this servant is here to apologize to you. This servant was in the wrong before and offended you. Can you forgive this servant? Mu Yan slightly narrowed her eyes as a trace of doubt flashed through them. Although the Lu Ruoxuan in front of her was exactly the same as before, the feeling she gave off was completely different. Especially the pair of eyes that were full of temptation and seduction. There wasn't a trace of hatred, but greed and passion. It was as if she had changed into another person. Before Mu Yan could say anything, Jiang Xinyu has already rushed over angrily and pushed Lu Ruoxuan hard. Get lost. You shameless bitch. You want to seduce Yi Liangchen after losing. Chapter 1457. Immediately after, Jiang Xinyu feels a chill seeping into her body from Lu Ruoxuan's hand, causing her voice to stop abruptly. Mu Yan's face changes. She suddenly steps forward, takes out a talisman and sticks it on Jiang Xinyu's body. The talisman burns quickly, making Jiang Xinyu's body warm up from the bone-chilling cold. Mu Yan grabs her wrist and swings it, directly throwing Jiang Xinyu away. But when she wants to step back, her hand is firmly held by Lu Ruoxuan. A chill instantly spreads from her wrist. Wisps of extremely insidious corrosive and freezing aura instantly invade every corner of her divine soul. Mu Yan's pupils suddenly shrink, staring at the enchanting woman in front of her. You're not Lu Ruoxuan. He. Mei Axian laughs very freely. She sticks out her tongue and licks her lips, her eyes full of greed. Of course I'm not that waste Lu Ruoxuan. While speaking, she takes a deep breath, looking intoxicated. What a mellow smell of divine soul. If I suck it all up, I'll definitely be able to recover to my peak. Mu Yan quickly takes out a talisman and wants to burn it. However, as soon as the talisman is ignited, it's extinguished by Mei Axian's hand. TSK, you're just at the fasting stage, but you can even refine such a powerful talisman. If you're given a little more time to grow, I'm afraid even I won't be able to deal with you. Mei Axian slowly shakes her head, but the greed in her eyes becomes more and more intense. Unfortunately, your level is still too low. He. Do you know that when this servant died, I had already reached the crossing calamity stage? You're just a little fasting stage cultivator, and you want to resist this servant. I advise you to be obedient and let this servant devour you. This way, this servant can guarantee less suffering. As for your delicious divine soul and evildoer's talent, this servant will take over. Ha. Mu Yan feels that her divine soul is completely surrounded by a cold aura, and she can't move at all. And Mei Axian's aura has begun to erode her soul little by little, making her consciousness gradually blurry. Mu Yan's heart sinks a little. Now in Tianguang ruins, she can't summon the real Tian Mo Qin, nor does she have Qi Huang's help. Was her divine soul really going to be devoured by this monster? At this critical moment, two young and tender voices suddenly sounded in Mu Yan's ears. How dare you attack our first host? You're courting death. Let go of your filthy hands. Who allowed you to touch my people? Mayan stares blankly. The first voice that speaks is stiff and mechanical. She immediately recognizes it as Little Tian. However, the second voice was tender, clear, and piercingly cold. It seemed to be somewhat familiar, yet also somewhat strange. Before she could react, Mei Axayan suddenly let go of her hand, and a shrill scream came from Lu Ruoxuan. Lu Ruoxuan flew into the air and spun rapidly in the air. Just a moment later, Lu Ruoxuan's clothes and accessories disappeared without a trace because of the rotation. His hair was a mess, his eyeballs were bulging, and his body was stiff as if he was dead. Immediately after, everyone in the Tianguang ruins heard a flat but cold voice. Chapter 1458. The next moment, she sees a white light hitting the distressed Lu Ruoxuan in midair. Lu Ruoxuan. Immediately, an even more mournful scream, like that of a pig being slaughtered, slowly disappearing from the Tianguang ruins. Mu Yan still hasn't come back to her senses. She slowly lowers her head, and a small figure and a cold but delicate little face come into her eyes. This little face isn't particularly similar to Xiao Bao's. But those ice blue eyes are exactly the same as Xiao Bao and Di Ming's. Almost exactly the same. Mu Yan's eyes widen in shock, and she blurts out, "Mo." Yes, standing in front of her is the little friend that she almost mistook for Xiao Bao in the Tianguang ruins, Mo Xiang. Since the last god of cooking competition, Missouri Xiang has disappeared without a trace. Mu Yan thought that he would never come to the Tianguang ruins again. Mayan thought that he would never come to Tianguang ruins again. Who would have thought that he would see him here again? Ink. He raised his head and looked at the void with a displeased expression. What does he need this Tianguang ruins to intervene for? His yen, he will protect himself. Little Tian banished Lu Ruoxuan and gave her a heavy blow to her divine soul. Originally, he wanted to take credit from the first host. But he suddenly feels his whole body quiver, and an inexplicable chill bursts. He doesn't dare to approach Mu Yan. Thus, little Tian snorts and quickly slips away. Mu Yan looks at the delicate and beautiful little boy in front of her with a pleasantly surprised expression, Mo Xiang. Why are you here? Mo Xiang. He turns his head away somewhat uncomfortably, and his crisp voice has a hint of awkwardness and coldness. I came to the Tianguang ruins because I had nothing to do, not to support you. Mu Yan looks at his tsundere little appearance and can't help but want to laugh. She reaches out and pinches his tender little face. Long time no see, Mo Xiang. Why are you still so cute? Impudent. Mo Xiang shouts, overbearing and cold, containing infinite pressure. However, these domineering words are said in a crisp, childish voice, but it only makes Mu Yan feel that it's indescribably cute. She simply bends down and directly picks him up. Mo Xiang. His handsome little face darkens, and he uses his divine power to break free. Big sister. Su Zi rushed over excitedly, his clear eyes staring straight at Mu Yan. There seemed to be a flame burning in them, and the tear mole under his left eye was even more dazzling. I went to the Misty Mansion to experience the barrier-breaking talisman. Mu Yan smiled. How do you feel? Su Zi said, I've never felt so free, so carefree, and so powerful. Big sister, thank you. Due to the uniqueness of Su Zi's body, he was unable to improve his cultivation or combat skills. In fact, even slightly stronger pills and talismans could be used. He couldn't even use it, because it would be too much for his heart. Furthermore, his spirit was still unstable. Even his experience in the Tianguang ruins might cause his spirit and body to be unable to merge. All this time, Su Zi had allowed himself to live a weak and hopeless life, waiting for death. However, ever since he met Mayan, everything about him began to change. The most obvious ones were his body and soul. His heart no longer felt like it could stop at any time, and he had hope and courage to live. And just now, Mu Yan asked him to try the barrier-breaking talisman. He clearly knew that his body might not be able to bear it, but he did it without hesitation. Chapter 1459. However, he was pleasantly surprised by the result of the experience. Mu Yan's gaze fell on him, and there was a sincere light in her eyes. I should be the one thanking you, Z. You've helped me a lot. If it wasn't for Z's body, that brat Qi Huang of his would have been trapped in that space forever, unable to see the light of day or anyone else for the rest of his life. She paused for a moment, then continued, Don't worry, in the future, it won't just be talismans. You can even learn powerful cultivation techniques. Su Zi's eyes sparkled, and he couldn't help but reach out to hug Mu Yan. He wanted to give his sister a hug of gratitude. However, just as this thought flashed through his mind, he felt a bone-piercing chill coursing through his body. Immediately after, she sees Mo Xiang, who was about to jump down from Mayan's embrace with a sour face. Turning his head, he firmly and possessively wraps his arms around Mayan's neck. Then, he turned around and gave Su Zi a cold and menacing look. Su Zi, why did he always feel that this pretty little boy's gaze was as if he wanted to cut him into pieces? Su Zi had wanted to ask who this annoying little boy was who had taken over the young lady. But at this moment, he felt a chill run down his spine and couldn't utter a single word. Cough. Little Missy, I've prepared a lot of crystals. I'll throw them all at you now. Mu Yan just wanted him to experience it properly, so there was no need to throw crystals. However, Su Zi had already slipped away. Humph, it's just crystals. I can also throw them at you. The sound of ink drifting into his ears. That cold voice. Mu Yan couldn't help but burst into laughter. Then I'll thank little Ju in advance. However, I don't need crystal stones. I'm already very happy that little Ju can come to Tianguang ruins to support me. As she spoke, she planted a kiss on his fair and tender little face. Ink. His body stiffened, and his face quickly turned the color of a pig's liver. He was both vexed and furious. Damn the Nether Realm. When he returned to the Shushan continent, he would destroy the entire Nether Realm and seize control of the Tianguang ruins. At that time, only a ghost would use the body of a child. He had to make yen sauce again in this Tianguang ruins. Lu Ruo. Being permanently expelled from the Tianguang ruins only caused a short uproar in the reincarnation square. Apart from those who had used the immortal talisman, they were extremely anxious. Others to Lu Ruo. Such a person ranked at the bottom of the list was still a talisman. He didn't care about the people on the ranking list. If it disappeared, then so be it. The finals of the glorious heavenly light were still in full swing. Although Leng Yuyao had always been in first place. However, during this period, Yin Zhe, who was in second place, also launched a fierce attack on the first place. It was only now that everyone knew that Yin Zhe was the son of the master craftsman, Yin Shou. Moreover, the great six-spirit artifact that he was using for the competition this time had been guided by Master Yin Shou. Once the final selection of the glorious heavenly light ended, this spirit tool would be given to the person who had experienced it the most times. As soon as this news was announced, many people in the reincarnation square could not sit still. As a result, Yin Zhe's score soared and almost caught up to Leng Yuyao. In the end, Ling Yuyao had no choice but to walk to the window and say in a cold and condescending tone, "I want to get first place, I hope everyone supports me." Chapter 1460. However, no one noticed when the fight between Ling Yuyao and Yin Zhe was at its climax. A name and her portrait were climbing up the tower silently, and their speed was getting faster and faster. Sigh, Lin Chanchan's elixirs are actually very good, but with Fairy Yaodia's performance, I'm afraid Chanchan can only rank 6th at most. 6th is already a good result. Ah! What's going on? Why did Chanchan get pushed down? Damn, Yap Liangchen, who is that? Why did he push our Chanchan down? Talisman list. Are you kidding? A person who came up from the talisman list actually climbed to the 6th place. Did Tianguang Ruins make a mistake? Ah! She went up again, 5th place. 5th place. When everyone noticed Yap Liangchen's name, which seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, she had already entered the top 5 without anyone noticing. This time, the other supporters in the reincarnation square couldn't sit still anymore. What kind of crap is this? How can she enter the top 5? It's just a talisman. How can she draw flowers? Our Chanchan's elixirs are so good, and she has so many supporters. How can she lose to her? No, I have to try this talisman and see what's so good about it. If it's fake, I'm going to complain to Tianguang Ruins. However, when these people arrived in front of the ethereal hall, they were dumbfounded. Why are there so many people? Even Fairy Yaodia's elixir experience doesn't need to queue anymore. Are these people stupid? It's just a talisman. Once is enough. Why do they have to queue again and again? The cultivators in front of the ethereal hall's 19th door glanced at these people. He said calmly, "You're new here, right? Hee, you'll understand after experiencing this talisman once. TSK, why are there so many people here again? Won't the number of times I can experience it be reduced again?" Those who were here to challenge the ethereal hall looked at each other in surprise and curiosity. However, after coming out of the ethereal hall, there was no more, they also joined the cyclic army. Amidst the exclamations and doubtful voices, Yap Liang Chen's name and portrait climbed to the 3rd place on the giant tower at a steady pace. Second only to Yin Zhe and Ling Yuyao. Looking at Yap Liangchen's increasing speed, it was only a matter of time before he surpassed Yin Zhe. This time, even Yin Zhe and Ling Yuyao's supporters could not sit still. Especially Yin Zhe, who was about to be surpassed. His diehard supporters angrily surround Mu Yan, each and every one of them has a fiendish appearance. However, before they could even seek justice for their idol, a voice suddenly rang out. Yin Zhe pushes through the crowd and slowly walks up to Mu Yan. The supporters standing behind Yin Zhe shouted, "Young Master Yin, please seek justice from this little girl. Who do you think you are, and who is she? What qualifications does she have to compare with you?" Yes, young Master Yin, there must be an inside story. Tianguang Su must be siding with him. Don't be afraid, we will definitely seek justice for you. Yin Zhe coughed lightly. There was not a trace of a smile on his naturally calm and solemn face. He really looked like he was here to denounce someone. And the diehard supporters behind him were even more aggressive, looking like they would never let the matter go. Chapter 1461. However, Yin Zhe's words shock everyone present. What? Cured young Master Yin's father's injury? Isn't that Master Yin's show? Mu Yan smiles faintly. It's nothing, not to mention, Master Yin paid enough. Yin Xiu personally forged the 6th grade Floguang sword, and Mu Yan gave it to big brother Yun Ruhan. Yun Ruhan is using it very well now. Yin Zai's eyes flash with a strange luster. Miss Yi, the talisman you put in the Misty House. I also used it. It seems that you refined an amazing talisman. While speaking, someone suddenly exclaims. Surpassed young Master Yin. Yi Liangchen's score is higher than young Master Yin's. Yin Zai's supporters behind him are panicking. But Yin Zai doesn't seem to hear it at all. Still looking at Mayan with a burning gaze, compared to the ranking in the finals of the glorious heavenly light, I want to know more. What talisman did Brother Yi refine? Why am I the talisman? I've never seen a talisman with this effect in the illustrated books. Mu Yan carelessly says, this kind of talisman. It's called Barrier Breaker. Barrier Breaker, Barrier Breaker. Yin Zai murmurs, his eyes getting brighter and brighter. It's really an appropriate name. Miss Yi, I have a presumptuous request. After the end of the flourishing heavenly light, I don't know if I have the chance to buy a Barrier Breaker talisman from you. Mu Yan is about to answer. But Yin Zai's supporters are unwilling. Young Master Yin, what's wrong with you? This girl's score is catching up with you now. Why are you still leisurely buying talismans? And? That's right. We should work hard to catch up now, we will all support you. Yin Zai suddenly turns his head, looking at the people behind him with a serious face, and says in a clear voice, from now on, you will throw all your crystal stones to Miss Ye's Barrier Breaker talisman. What? I, Qin Xiu, promise that among my supporters, the one who throws the most crystal stones to Miss Yi will give her a 6th grade spiritual tool personally refined by my father. The surroundings fall into a brief silence, and then all Yin Zai's supporters explode. Why Master Yin Xiu refined a 6th grade spiritual tool? Young Master Yin, are you joking? Yin Zai raised his chin and said proudly, when have I ever joked? All of you must send Miss Yi to the throne of number 1. For the sake of Grandmaster Yin Xiu's grade 6 spirit weapon, I'll give it my all. Since it's young Master Yin's orders, we'll go and support Yap Liangchen. Yin Zai's supporters dispersed and ran to the ethereal house. Yin Zai turned around, his eyes burning with anticipation as he looked at Mu Yan. Miss Yi, can you sell a talisman after the end of the glorious heavenly light? For me. No matter how many crystals you have, I am willing to pay. Mu Yan's smile is deep and serene. It seems that Yin Zai has realized the true effect of the barrier-breaking talisman. Moreover, the effect of using the barrier-breaking talisman in real life was incomparable to the experience in the ethereal house. Sure. Hearing Mu Yan's reply, Yin Zai's solemn face suddenly blossomed into an excited smile. He turned around and left quickly. Before he left, he didn't forget to say, don't worry, I'll give you all the crystals I've prepared. In the tall tower, Leng Yuyao stood in front of the window with her eyes closed. Her expression was cold, and her whole body was emitting an awe-inspiring and arrogant aura. She attached great importance to the competition of the glorious heavenly light, but she didn't pay much attention to it. Chapter 1462. So what if Yin Zai's score is slightly closer to hers? As long as she says a word, her supporters will still crazily throw crystals, and then leave Yin Zai far behind. The reincarnation square is noisy, becoming noisier, and some people are even screaming loudly. Leng Yuyao frowns in disgust. She really doesn't want to stay in such a place where lowly people gather for even a quarter of an hour. Just then, a voice suddenly floats into her ears. Damn, 5,000 points, only 5,000 points left. If this goes on, it's only a matter of time before I catch up with Fairy Yao Dai. Leng Yuyao suddenly opens her eyes, and looks at the misty house in disbelief. In addition to the huge tower, the ranking and points are also displayed in front of the misty house. The first place is still Leng Yuyao. Leng Yuyao sighs in relief, but when her line of sight moves down, and she sees the next name and points, her pupils suddenly contract. The second place is Yi Liangchen, and not Yin Zhe, who has been left far behind by her. Moreover, Yi Liangchen's points are actually firmly catching up with hers, only a few thousand points behind her. What is this Yi Liangchen? How can he be able to catch up with her in just a few hours? Moreover, Yi Liangchen's points are still rising rapidly, and the speed is even faster than her own. If this goes on, Leng Yuyao will be overtaken, and losing the first place is only a matter of time. This time, Leng Yuyao really can't sit still. She is the heaven's proud child of the Flowing Moon sect, an existence that everyone pursues. Coming to Tianguang ruins to participate in the competition is condescending, putting down her own identity, wanting to add a little more honor and fame to herself. If he lost to a nobody like Yap Liangchen, he would definitely die. Where would she, Fairy Yaodai, put her face? Where would the Flowing Moon sect put their face? Leng Yuyao takes a deep breath, and her figure flashes, appearing under the huge tower. Fairy Yaodai. It's really Fairy Yaodai. Fairy Yaodai, I love you, even if I have to go bankrupt, I will support you. As soon as Leng Yuyao's diehard supporters see her, they immediately swarm over excitedly. The one leading them was the debauchee that Mu Yan had met at the Precious Pill Pavilion, the eldest young master of the Di family, Di Can. When Deacon saw Leng Yuyao, his eyes shone with excitement, and he wished he could kneel on the ground and worship her. Fairy Yaodai, I am Di Can from Azure Blue World's Green Flame City. A few days ago, I went to Evolution Moon Sect to learn and seek guidance, and I brought you a pill furnace as a gift. In the finals of the glorious heavenly light, this time, I will do everything I can to support you to become the champion. Leng Yuyao raised her chin arrogantly. She had long been accustomed to the scene of being pursued by others. However, when she raised her head and saw Yap Liangchen's points increasing rapidly, her face darkened again. However, Leng Yuyao had always been cold and arrogant. Even if she was furious, she would never lose her composure. She raised her chin and said coldly, Yi Liangchen, who is ranked behind me, what is his background? No one knows where he came from, but he suddenly rose up. I heard that anyone who experienced her talisman, no matter who they originally supported, would line up in front of the ethereal hall. I wonder if that talisman is really that magical. Chapter 1463. But the problem is, even young Master Yin Zhe made his supporters support Yi Liangchen, and gave up competing for first place. But rest assured, Yaodai Fairy, we will never let him surpass you. Leng Yuyao's eyes turn cold. She turns around and walks towards Mayan. Yi Liangchen. A cold female voice interrupts the excited conversation between Elegant Brother and Little Fatty Zheng with Mayan. Mayan turns around and sees a cold and elegant woman with a haughty expression standing in front of her. Leng Yuyao. She raises her eyebrows, what's the matter? The people that Leng Yuyao meets on normal days either admire and adore her, or are envious and jealous of her. But this unprepossessing girl in front of her is looking at her without a ripple in her eyes, like looking at a pile of garbage. Anger rises in Leng Yuyao's heart. But she manages to suppress it in the end. I don't know what despicable method you use to make your point soar. It's just a talisman, and you want to be the champion of Flourishing Heavenly Light's finals. Do you think it's interesting to do this? Mayan chuckles, her expression languid, how is it not interesting? My talisman overpowers Yaodai Fairy's elixir and ranks first. I think it's very interesting. You. The fury in Leng Yuyao's heart suddenly rushes up, and she almost can't suppress her emotions. She takes a deep breath and sneers, do you really think that you can beat me with this little trick? After saying that, Ling Yuyao turns around and looks at the cultivators that have gathered around. There are a small number of Mayan supporters here. But most of them are those who have tried the barrier-breaking talisman, and are excited to come over and ask what kind of talisman it is. But because there are too many people, and the momentum is too great, they are blocked by Elegant Brothers' die-hard followers, not letting them get close to Mayan. These people naturally know Ling Yuyao. Many of them had once supported their goddess, Fairy Yaodai, in the past. Seeing that Ling Yuyao has come to their side at this time, their eyes shine, and they are inexplicably excited. Ling Yuyao looks at the behavior of this group of people, and her eyes flash with contempt and complacency. She said in a clear voice, "I, Ling Yuyao, hereby declare that as long as I can get the first place in the Flourishing Heavenly Light's final selection, I'll give it to you. From tomorrow onwards, all elixirs in the Derived Moon Pavilion will be sold at a 20% discount for the next 3 days. Moreover, the Spirit Explosion Pill that I refine will be supplied to the Derived Moon Pavilion at least once a month, and the order of the reservation will be based on the crystal stones that all of you have spent for me in the Derived Moon Pavilion." As soon as these words came out, the practitioners in the Reincarnation Square immediately became excited. The Derived Moon Pavilion was the largest elixir store in the 3 upper districts of Tianguang Ruins. The pills inside were expensive, but there was a complete variety and their effects were excellent. If the Derived Moon Pavilion's medicinal pills could have a 20% discount, then it would truly be a great discount. There was no need to mention the Spirit Explosion Pill refined by Fairy Yaodai. That was a top-grade pill. Initially, he thought that the Flow Moon sect wouldn't sell it casually. He didn't expect that they would supply one every month. The crowd dispersed in an uproar, rushing towards the Misty House to throw crystals. In just a short quarter of an hour, Ling Yuyao's points have left Mu Yen far behind. Ling Yuyao turns to look at Mayan, sneering contemptuously, "Did you see that? I told you, tricks are useless against me." Chapter 1464. What Yiliangchen? I've never even heard of him, yet he actually dares to provoke Fairy Yaodai. I think she's been flattered by those supporters to the point that she's forgotten how much she's worth. Ha ha ha, our Fairy Yaodai is aloof and aloof. She just disdains to bother with a small fry like you. Look, as long as Fairy Yaodai says a word, she can trample you far beneath her feet. Each and every one of Ling Yuyao's diehard supporters is also very arrogant, very pleased with themselves. Especially Di Can, his tail is simply sticking up to the sky. The crystals that he spent on the Spirit Explosion Pill experience can firmly be ranked in the top 3. Although he's not interested in the Spirit Explosion Pill, this might be able to make Fairy Yaodai notice him. On the contrary, on Mayan's side, Yiliangchen supporters all have ugly expressions, gnashing their teeth. The one with the worst temper, Jiang Xinyu, directly curses, "Bah, nowadays, anyone can really call themselves a fairy. Saying it's so awesome, but how many crystals does an elixir cost, and how many crystals does a talisman cost? Usually, buying a 6th-grade elixir costs thousands or even tens of thousands of high-grade crystals. Now, the experience only costs 1 high-grade crystal. Isn't it normal for many people to experience it? But our great god Ye's talismans usually only sell for a few high-grade crystals. Now, 1 high-grade crystal can only be used to experience it once, but the points are not lower than yours, and the number of people who experience it far surpasses yours. What are you all so proud of?" Ling Yuyao's complexion suddenly turns cold, and there's obvious anger in her eyes. This is also the reason why she's particularly unhappy. In the past, those who ranked on the talisman list couldn't even enter the top 100. The most important thing is that talismans are too cheap, far inferior to the prices of elixirs and magic weapons. But this year, not only did this Yiliangchen enter the top 20. Now, he's even steadily risen to the 2nd place, and is still unwaveringly chasing behind her. If it wasn't for her using her reputation and prestige, and the derived Moon Pavilion's discount as a bait. So much so that her points would soon catch up with hers. Didn't that mean that the talisman drawn by this silly little girl was actually more valuable and sought after than the 6th grade elixir that he had meticulously refined? Ling Yuyao took a deep breath and narrowed her eyes. A cold light flashed in her eyes. You have a glib tongue and shameless sophistry, but you can't hide the fact that your scheme has failed. After saying that, he flicked his sleeves and turned to leave. However, before she could take 2 steps, Mayan's leisurely voice comes from behind. Mu Yan softly says from the bottom of her heart, Xiao Tian, can you pass my words to the ears of everyone in the reincarnation square? Of course, no problem, first host. As soon as little Tian's stiff words fall, Mayan's voice not only reaches Ling Yuyao's ears, but also reaches the ears of everyone in the reincarnation square without a trace. Her voice was very pleasant to listen to. It was as smooth as pearls and as smooth as jade, and it was pleasant to the ears. It also carried a languid, sexy, and melodious tone. It was completely different from her ordinary face in the Tianguang ruins. Therefore, almost as soon as she spoke, she attracted the attention of everyone around her. A lot of people want to know what kind of talisman that I put in the Misty House for everyone to experience. Hearing this, at least half of the people in the reincarnation square immediately pricked up their ears. They nervously and excitedly wait for Mayan's next words. Chapter 1465. As for the other half, they were completely confused. It was just a talisman. What was there to be excited about? The supporters around Ling Yuyao snorted disdainfully. Is this Yi Liangchen trying to copy Fairy Yaodai and make some kind of promise? Ha ha ha, why don't you take a look at yourself first? Mayan smiles faintly. Under everyone's attentive gaze, she slowly continues, this talisman is a 5th-rank barrier-breaking talisman. Its effect is to help practitioners below high-level Jindan stage to break through the obstacles of cultivation. I believe that many of you have already experienced the barrier-breaking talisman in Ethereal Hole. Even though it's just a trial version, it's still effective, but it's not even 1/10 as effective as a real barrier-breaking talisman. Moreover, the effects of the barrier-breaking talisman can be stacked. In other words, if one barrier-breaking talisman can help you break through from Anidia to Jindan, then 10 barrier-breaking talismans will have a 10% chance. The reincarnation square fell into a deathly silence. Everyone widened their eyes and mouths, unable to utter a single word for a long time. Yin Zhe quietly clenched his fists, his eyes filled with excitement. The bottleneck-breaking pill was indeed able to help him break through the bottleneck. He had been stuck at the peak of Anidia for a very, very long time. Every time someone found out about his cultivation, they would think of his identity. They would shake their heads in regret or gloat. No matter how talented he was in refining weapons, as long as his cultivation could not increase, a 6th-grade spirit weapon was already his peak. It seemed like Master Yin Xiu would have no successor. Even his father, Yin Xiu, was anxious. He even used the treasures he refined to exchange with other pill grandmasters for pills that could help him break through. However, there was no effect at all. Yin Zhe was afraid that his father would worry, so he did not show it on his face. However, he was suppressing his anger in his heart. How he hoped that he could break through to the Golden Core realm, how he hoped that his father would be proud of him, and not be humiliated because of him. However, breakthroughs and epiphanies were things that could only be encountered and not sought. No matter how anxious he was, what could he do? However, just now, out of curiosity, he went to the ethereal house to experience Yi Liangchen's barrier-breaking talisman. However, he discovered that the bottleneck that had been shackling him for a long time was actually showing signs of loosening. Inze was so excited that he almost went crazy. What flourishing heavenly lights finals! Everything was thrown to the back of his mind. Inze immediately gives up on his results in the finals, and turns to Mayant to ask for the barrier-breaking talisman. From the looks of it, his decision this time was right. After a short period of silence in the reincarnation square, intense discussions immediately broke out. Barrier-breaking talisman. Heavens! So that talisman is called the barrier-breaking talisman. Its effects are actually so heaven-defying. No wonder every time I enter the ethereal dojo, my whole body would feel restless and my heart would itch uncontrollably, as if I was just a little bit away from catching something. Are you kidding me? Is there such a talisman in the world? It can even help Shouja under high-level Jean Dan break through the bottleneck. If there really is such a talisman in the world, wouldn't it be even more heaven-defying than Dan? I can tell you responsibly that it's absolutely true. I just experienced it in the ethereal house. The trial version already has such an effect, not to mention the real talisman. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.